Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 401. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined alongside Johnny V.
I'm here.
I was trying to think, was I here? I wasn't here last week.
No,
you
were
was
not.
in the Emporia, but the week before I was physically on site. Believe it or not, I sometimes lose track of where I am and what day of the week it is. But
no way.
yes, I am here as well in the Milwaukee studio. We're so glad you guys could join us. To recap, talk a little bit about the 2022 Dynamic Disc Open that just took place this weekend.
A lot to talk about on this event, I think.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, I mean, you got 4 rounds and cuts and good play, bad play, stellar play.
Weather?
A little bit of weather, extracurriculars.
No.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, I
Did you ride the bull?
Which one?
Okay.
It was a really good time in Emporia. It always is. And that, of course, is a testament to the hard work, the dedication, the planning, all of those things, and then some. This year at the helm was Jackie Morris. She is your tournament director.
First time tournament director for this event.
Yeah, and
she's TD'd other events. She's TD'd women's events. She's TD'd some local, I believe some other local events that they've had there. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time that she has been the official TD for the DDO/GBO.
Yeah, so it was, of course, she did a great job. And then it's just an overwhelming or overarching support staff and network that goes along with her and the rest of the crew. Dozens of people. There had to be at least 10 to 12, maybe even 14 total course directors / course TDs, in addition then to dozens, if not more than 100 or so volunteers on top of it. So very cool to see. And I don't want to say it was your typical DDO, but if I did say something like that, it would be in a positive fashion, as in it was your typical great event held in Emporia.
They're a crew that totally understands how to run events. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the courses and about the OB and stuff like that. And people are like, why are we having events in Kansas? And one of my standard go-tos for that is it's hard to move an entire staff that can cover this many courses and this many amenities and all this other stuff. And, you know, for what it's worth, and no offense to any other tournament director out there, I just think the DDO, the DD crew, probably does it the best. They have to be up there and for sure in the top 3 of tournament directing and staff. They're phenomenal.
And again, that goes hand in hand with what Dynamic has built throughout the years, that when you go to Emporia, anytime you go to the home city or hometown where the major manufacturer is then headquartered and local to, it's going to create some distinct advantages. Mm-hmm. No big secret that you find a similar situation at the USDGC.
Yeah.
Rock Hill, South Carolina, the Innova plant, Innova East is literally just a few miles away. Kind of in almost an exact same fashion, just a few miles away from where the course or courses are. And it just that when you go to the USDGC, it's very similar. Ton of volunteers, which are needed every single year and have been, a staple out there. But then on top of it, you have a lot of the actual employees that end up spending some of their time or a lot of their time throughout the year to then be working on the event side as well. And that, there's a lot of similarities in that sense. And it's not too far off, but kind of similar. I was going to say, when you look at like the toboggan and the support that they get over there at the USAMS event, the United States Amateur Disc Golf Championship, and the Great Lakes Open, it's not quite to that scale, though. The toboggan course is kind of out, lack of a better term, out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, it helps when your major manufacturer is located just down the road. That certainly provides some advantages. So hats off, all of that good stuff. We'll get into more of those details. Ricky Wysocki, I believe. Oh my gosh, he's already here.
He's logging
Look
in.
At this.
He's logging in right now.
He was originally, we asked him to be on around 9. He had some big fancy dinner reservations because that's how he rolls.
Well,
But
after you win an event, that's what you do.
yeah, you go to Mexico
And then you get on SmashBox.
You have date night, and then you come join us for the after party. Yeah, that's if that's how your dates are going, I don't know. But anyway, so it sounds like we're gonna have Ricky. He's just getting a few things dialed up, and we'll have him in just a few minutes. But you want to start with a few things on the FPO side, Johnny? Is that a good place to start?
Sure. What looked like after round one, a Paige Pierce runaway with the way the wind was and the way she throws a disc. She had she was tied actually with Christine Jennings. And no offense to Christine, she's a good coworker of ours, at DGN. But not a lot of people had Christine holding off Paige Pierce for 4 full rounds.
That's a tall task.
For any person.
For anybody.
For you, me,
Yeah,
Ricky,
doesn't matter.
Germ, Christine Jennings, it doesn't matter who's trying to hold Paige Pierce off. But at the end of round one, it was Paige Pierce and Christine Jennings. Round two, and Kristen Tatar was down in like 20-some place.
22nd.
22nd place. And everybody was saying, oh my God, I don't think she's going to hit the podium. She's not. She has been on the podium every event she's been here. Well, Kristen Tatar took that personally. She comes out to Joan Supreme and shoots a 6 under par. The next best was Jen Allen's 3 under par, and shoots herself up 21 spots into first place.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
The largest jump we've
Yes.
ever seen of that magnitude into a first place position from where she was at. Statmando can repeat that. I say it more eloquently, but yeah,
Correct.
huge jump.
Big jump. Big jump. Well, at that point then, she continued to play well. She shot a 2 over par in her first round at the Country Club, where also we saw Katrina Allen shoot an even and Ella Hansen shoot a 1 under par. And we get into the final round, and Kristen Tatar has a relatively decent-sized lead going into that round.
4 strokes.
3 or 4 strokes.
4 strokes, yep.
And again, I think a lot of people were saying, oh, the way Kristen's playing, it's going to be very difficult to catch her. And Kat took that personally. Kat rattled off the first 6 birdies, and Kristen Tatar got 2 of them. And so within, 7 holes, it was a fight. It was a battle. It was a phenomenal back and forth. We saw Kristen Tatar took a double bogey on 8. At that point, everyone's like, oh, wow, look at that. It's, now Kat's kind of got, in the driver's seat. Well, Kat followed up with a double bogey on 9, and then Tatar birdies 10. Then Allen rattles off 3 birdies on 12, 13, 14. Ultimately, as this event does, it usually comes down to hole 16 when it's close. Kat played the layup position off to the right and then threw it over onto the island. And then from there, Tatar makes a run at the island, puts it on the island, and I'm still unsure if Tatar had either the worst layup or the worst run at that basket for that hole. Because if she was laying up, she did a poor job of it. Because she hit like under the basket, which then slid down to the side of the hill towards the water and almost goes OB. If she was running at it, it was a bad run because she didn't even give it a chance. Kat has about a 15 to 18 footer, hits chains on the right side, it flops out and rolls into the water. So now Kat has taken a double bogey on hole 16. At this point, Tatar has a 1-stroke lead. They both birdie 17 and they both par 18, and Tatar walks away with the win. So going from 21st place, pulling herself up for the win in FPO at the DDO. It was a great battle. It was a better battle than the MPO that we're about. We're going to talk with Ricky here in a moment. But
yeah, I know who to blame for that.
Yeah, I know. If Ricky could just keep it close sometimes, it would be nice. But no, that guy just runs away with it. No, so instead, we got to see a phenomenal battle with FPO. And one of the things I really liked, Mo had made a post about this. The FPO viewership was higher than last year's MPO viewership for the same event.
Wow.
on the final round. So we there is definitely some excitement about the FPO this year.
Yeah, and I think the timing, and this isn't to take anything away from it, but I think the timing is also very fortunate that a lot of our European contingency that really enjoys watching, it probably sets up at a really good time to consume it. You have you have the top European woman in the world, and who happens to be one of the top women golfers, period, in the world, is there. And then you have these great battles that have been unfolding there. Yeah, it sets up really well, and I think it's awesome that we have a solid turnout in terms of the overall viewership when it comes to these battles. And of course, that's part of what's been worked on now for a while, is having the separate streams to now get to the point where we're able to kind of analyze and break down what you're seeing on the MPO side, what you're seeing on the FPO side. And I don't want to say the numbers, it's hardly worth comparing them, but it is, when you see the FPO action overtake some of the MPO numbers, it does say something for sure.
It certainly does. And that it was basically a 2-woman race for this event. Ella Hansen, who ended up shooting a 3 under par that round, kind of bumped herself up a few spots to get tied for third with, I almost want to call her a local favorite, even though she's not from Kansas, I don't believe, Emily.
No, she's from Oklahoma.
She's from Oklahoma, so she understands how to play in the wind. But Emily Beach always finds a way to play well, it seems like, at DDO or GBO. So Emily Beach tied for third. Paige Pierce shooting a 1 under par that last round to get herself up to 5th. Actually, she dropped down to 5th. She was in 4th place at one point. Haley King in 6th place. 2022's I want to say surprise player so far, Valerie Mondahano, still in 7th, took 7th place, followed up by Macy Veladiaz, and tied on 8th with Madison Walker. Madison, who is starting to kind of come around with her game. I think she made a social media post about feeling really good lately. It's showing in the last few events she's played. And tied for 10th was Jen Allen. So congratulations to the top 10 women at the DDO.
Yes.
I'm going to have to stop calling it DDO/GBO because everybody's just going to have to know it's the DDO now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's formerly known as the Glass Blown Open. There's still Glass Blown trophies. That's where so much of the history and the background has come from in the event that it's built itself to. And then it's just forever been known as it got abbreviated from Glass Blown Open to GBO. Everybody's used to saying that. If you've been around for more than a few years, that's what it was referred to. So we're just now getting ourselves set. This is the 3rd year
of DDO. Correct.
Of DDO.
I was say this is the 20th year of this event, the DDO/GBO.
Yeah.
Is what I heard.
So yes, it's just a matter of all of us getting used to it, and it does make perfect sense to, even as best as we can, try not to abbreviate, even though it's really tough to do for a lot of tournaments. Try not to abbreviate it. Part of the reason for the naming scheme
is the branding,
so that the branding is out there. Dynamic Disc Open. It does feel weird to say the Dynamic Disc Open presented by Dynamic Disc, but yeah, it's all part of the branding.
Emporia, soon to be known as Dynamic Disc Town.
Yeah, Dynamic Disc Town. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right. Well,
I think we have someone in the green room. I think Ricky Wysocki is available to chat with us. He's looking awfully spiffy, let me tell you that. He dressed up for us.
He's looking sharp, and he says he's not hearing us, but probably when we click on the button, he will.
I'm hoping so.
Okay. All right.
Let's give it a shot.
All right. Well, without further ado, coming in from another country, this isn't the first or probably the last time this will happen, our 2022 MPO Dynamic Disc Open Champion, sponsored by Dynamic Disc, Ricky Wysocki.
Woo! Ricky, can you hear us now? You cannot hear me. We can't. That's funny because we can't hear you either.
Yeah, we don't hear you. I wonder if it's the
could be the headset.
It might be the earbuds. Take out your ears. Take out your earbuds.
Maybe disconnect the earpieces.
Disconnect those. Maybe disconnect
or
Bluetooth.
Carney Schill says it's Drippy Wysocki. That's what we were calling him in the studio. Was Drippy Wysocki. All right, here's what we're gonna do this real quick. We're gonna put Ricky back in the green room for a few seconds while he disconnects. The other thing he can sometimes do is what I tell the guest: hits the advanced.vmix.call.
Let's see if
clicks on that.
Let's see if he can go the route of what I just.
Okay.
We'll see if we can get him on here in a second.
Yeah,
Make sure he's all good to go.
Yeah, he'll be back. And maybe someone says maybe his power is out. Yeah. All right.
Is that a problem, Doug?
I'm thinking Ricky can hear us now. We'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. Hi, Ricky Wysocki.
Wysocki.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
I was good at lip reading. I was like, dynamic disc open, Ricky Wysocki.
Those are all the words you need to know, man. That's it.
Yeah.
We're a big fan of that. Okay.
Really?
So I heard it. I thought I saw it, not heard it.
All right. Well, welcome in, buddy. We've kind of set it up this way, but tell us exactly where you are and what you got going on right now.
Yeah. So behind me. I'm in Mexico, and I'm in Puerto Vallarta. That's the most gringo way to say that, but
you got it. You got it.
Close enough.
Yeah. We'll take it.
Mexican, and she says it right, but I don't. But anyways, yeah, we're in Mexico this week, and we're just hanging out, spending some time. I actually came to Mexico to visit her after the Texas State's win, so seems to be good luck when I book Mexico trips. I seem to win the tournaments.
You can't leave the country a loser, so
I know,
yeah.
True. Makes that trip much more enjoyable. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, Sunday night, I know you had a few obligations, and then next thing you know, you were off and running. You and Ari traveling, right? Did you then fly or, get yourself up to Kansas City, I assume? And then did you fly out Sunday night already, or did you go out Monday?
Yeah, we left 5 a.m. on Monday morning. So I just wanted to try to get over here and enjoy my time as quick as possible and be ready for the next event, which is Santa Cruz. So yeah, just it's been a grind. It's it was 3 weeks of big tournaments, Champions Cup, then Jonesboro, and then Dynamic Disc Open. And for me, most sponsored players, when you go to I don't know, I would imagine like the Discraft players when they go to the D-Glow, they're doing all kind, Discraft's trying to get in all the media there. And then for me, it's obviously Emporia. When all the Trilogy players go to Emporia, all the media is trying to cram stuff in for the whole year, getting media, getting disc, go to the factory, just all the different things that we need to do. For the one, normally it's the one time we're in town for the year. Luckily, we're going back twice. I wouldn't say luckily because Emporia is not the coolest town ever, but
seems to be working out all right for you.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Show up, pick up a couple checks, probably walk out.
Yeah. Not too shabby. Yeah. So maybe dive into that just for a moment. Like, what are some of the typical things? And I think you nailed it. A lot of times when you're in an area, especially where your sponsor is prevalent and maybe they're headquartered, but what are some of the typical things that are either asked or somewhat expected of you when you're in a town like Emporia for the week as a sponsored player like yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because, it's a lot of stuff. So the one thing is, for me, Ari handles a lot of stuff for ordering discs when we're doing, fly marts, emailing people. So one thing that's cool that I feel like is important is just having a personal connection with everybody that you're emailing, everybody that you're throughout the year that you're, hey, can you give me, can you send me, 100 of these X amount of discs with this stamp and blah, 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 all that stuff. So you get to meet all the people that are actually pulling your discs and doing that stuff. So you kind of create a personal connection and get to thank them for all the things that they do for you while we're on the road. Because obviously we're on the road all season there at the warehouse doing lots of things for us. So you kind of want to get back and just spend some time with those kind of people in the warehouse that are doing a lot of stuff for us. So just kind of spending time doing that. And then a lot of times it's, spending time with the media crews doing in the bags. I was doing slammer videos at the warehouse. We were doing that kind of stuff. And then I've been doing a lot of stuff with Gatekeeper as well. So I've been doing scratch matches with Gatekeeper as far as kind of hosting that and getting new pro every week doing that. So that's kind of obligation. I've been having a lot of stuff to do. But as far as the specific dynamic disc media, it's a lot of, like I said, in the bag. And then we're doing voiceovers for videos. So it's the stuff that just, hour here, hour there. Next thing you know, you just spent 3 or 4 hours going from, doing a video with Gatekeeper, that's 3 hours, doing a voiceover over here, then doing in the bag over here. Then it's it's kind of just you're just always having to be on because you're always doing video. So it's kind of like you have to, it's almost like two different versions of me. Like, obviously I'm Ricky, but like when you're doing it in the bag, you kind of like, there's just more pressure. The camera's right in your face. It's, so it's like, you have to, Terry knows how it is, you have to kind of like, snap in. And so like, the more you have to be on, it's just a lot of mental energy, it's just a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And so the more you have to do that, it's like a mental well, like I say, when I'm playing is, when that mental well depletes, you got to take a trip to Mexico and replenish the well and get ready for the next week, So,
not everybody gets to do that. You know this, right, Rick? Not everybody's going to Mexico, on a little jaunt after they would take down an Elite Series event.
No, I know. Whatever someone's outlet is my outlet. Luckily, I'm able to go to Mexico, but some people's outlets are different. But yeah, it's it's all in the same goal is to rebuild that mental well, and so that way you can come back and do your job to the best of your ability. Because I think a lot of players you saw were just mentally drained, and you have the pressure of the major, then Jonesboro, and so it's all built up, and then you have on top of that all the weather. It's just like it's just really people just snapped out there. A lot of people did, and I totally see why. The general public's like, oh, so and so stunk it up this week. It's like, yeah, they just don't. Most people don't see all the variables that happen. Like, hey, you have Champions Cup. That takes a lot. Jonesboro, like Paul competed for a win in Jonesboro, expended a lot of mental energy to go into that playoff and really try to win that tournament. And then you got to step back and 3 days later play a tournament and just refocus and pretend like that never happened. And yeah, we're professionals and that's what we do. We try to pretend like that never happened, and we're going to do the best we can to do that. But sometimes it lingers over into the next week, even if we don't want it to.
Now,
sometimes there's mental energy to tap into, and you still have to play the tournament.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of, in a sense, expand on all of that. And I just want to talk about the specific grind of 4 days of Champions Cup, 9-ish hours or so over to Jonesboro, if I recall. 3 days of Jonesboro, 9-ish hours over to, 9, 10, whatever it is, depending on how you're traveling, over then to Emporia for another 4-day event. So, ultimately, and I know this to a lot of people like, oh, wow, cool. They're playing, 11 rounds of golf in, 16 days or whatever it is, or 20 days or whatever. But that doesn't include the practice. As I just said, a couple of long travel days. And then, someone like yourself really busy. But talk specifically about a 4-3-4 in this case of those 11 rounds of competitive disc golf.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of variables to it. I mean, that people don't realize is, first of all, yeah, it's just 3 or 4 days. However long the tournament is, that's not as much of a factor as far as like, you have to build up. It's not just, hey, show up Friday. Like obviously there's weekend warriors that show up and play, a certain amount of Saturday and Sunday, and then they're done. But like we're practicing Monday through Wednesday. You play the tournament, do it again the next week. That just process keeps going, and then that's not even including what happens in the tournament. Like Jonesboro, Calvin and Paul played really well, and we're battling for the win. And they're kind of like, Calvin's probably coming off like a mental high. He's feeling really good. But I mean, people don't realize how much mental energy it takes to win a tournament. It's not like you just, oh, cool, you just breeze through. Like, yeah, I beat everybody and won by 6 strokes, but it wasn't easy. It's like, oh yeah, you killed them. It's so easy this week. I mean, just saying disc golf, there's no tournament that's easy. There's no shot that's easy. Yeah, it may be routine, but it doesn't mean it's an easy shot. There's, as soon as you think that, then you're in the wrong mindset. Even if it's a wide open 200-foot upshot, you still got to throw the shot. You still got to calculate the wind. You still got to do all this different things to throw the shot. It's not just going to throw itself, So even the so-called easy routine shots are still requiring mental energy, and so you add the wind, you add the pressure of the tournament, playing on the lead card, all the pressure of that. So all that stuff just really builds up, especially if you're playing on the lead card, feature card every week. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Because if you're it's different even if you're in second card, third card, you're chasing the lead. But when you're in the lead, there's just so much more pressure that you're holding, and it takes that much more mental energy to focus on that and to hold it and to win than even, like I said, even in second place. Because you're like second place, from someone like my standpoint, is like there's nothing to lose. Well, I got nothing to lose. I'm trying to win, so it's win or go home. So it's like there's no pressure on me when I'm in second. I'm trying to win, and that's it. And so when you're winning, there's all the pressure because it's all yours to lose, and it's everything you do is going to be scrutinized. Versus if you're in second, you're not expected. There's no expectations. It's like, yeah, he could win, but it's not like, oh, Ricky stunk it up and got second. It's like, versus if you're winning and you lose, people are going to be like, oh, well, yeah, Ricky played horrible. He blew the tournament and got second. So it's just all about perspective, and so the perspective turns into pressure based on, we can feel that. We can feel what the crowd's feel. What the crowd's feeling. All that stuff. We can feel the energy. So. Yeah, it's a lot more involved mentally more than anything. It's really not anything to do with physical. It's more, I think a lot of players, it's more just mental. The mental grind is the toughest thing. But I mean, we're still professionals. We're gonna, we're never gonna show all these things that's going through our head like I'm saying right now. People would never notice that, obviously. Sure. But it's, like I said, we're professionals. We're gonna fight through it. We're gonna find ways to, try to refill that mental well, even when we don't feel like we have anything left to give. And that's why you sometimes see players and pros like get a bad break or something, and then they just almost seems like they give up. And it's almost like it's not really a give up. It's more of just like, I did everything. I thought I threw that shot perfect, didn't work out. I have no more mental energy to give. I just gotta it's just a build up, and then you pop, and then the pop is like, well, there's nothing else for me to do right now. I feel like I can't win. Just everything just stacking against me. And
you're on the feature card a lot, clearly. Not only like rounds where you want to be 2, 3, and 4, or 2 and 3, but a lot of times round 1 as well, because you're either on the feature card or the Jomez card or whatever. Do you find it more relaxing to not be on one of those cards sometimes? Do you is it strange for you to like actually have a round of golf where you look around and you're like, there ain't nobody filming me, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, it's kind of brings me back to the old days, like where maybe you would have Terry, there like with a little camera, like filming you. But it wasn't like, it's like most of the camera crews now have like, even gatekeeper, all of them pretty much have 4 or 5 people on the course with cameras. So it's not like you just have Terry right there. You can turn to Terry and just say a funny, stupid joke and laugh. So it's not really like Terry doesn't really put the pressure on, which is a good thing. He's there and he's getting the video and getting the content, but you can joke around with him and stuff, and you can do that with the other guys. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just a different feeling because the reach that all that the camera crews and all these video coverage has. So that automatically comes with pressure, for the better or for worse. And so I think the first round's actually harder than the others because it's like people watch that and they're like, oh, either, obviously if I play good, it's great. But if I don't, it's even way worse than if I weren't on camera because, oh, Ricky, did you see Ricky's round 1? He played horrible, missed every putt, missed every drive. And so whereas if I wasn't on camera, they wouldn't really be able to see it. They just see the score, And so I think when they're able to see how you shot that score, it's actually can be way worse. So if you shoot good on camera, it can be that much better. But if you shoot worse, it can be that much worse when you're on it, for sure.
Now, what is it specific? Your girlfriend's in Mexico, but are there things that you're still out exploring? Do you have a list? Does she have a list? Is that kind of the official retreat place for an undisclosed amount of time? I mean, yeah, is that going to continue to be your go-to place, or do you feel like it's a place that's convenient that you can get to now? Why Mexico?
Yeah, so we're really right now. First of all, she's obviously from here, so I want to spend time with her and all that. But the second thing is visa's hard right now, so we're having trouble getting a visa. So I'm going here instead because she can't really get in the country because we're working on all the visas and stuff, and it's all backed up because of COVID and. Everybody's visa expired, so because you couldn't really do anything. So now everybody's trying to get their visas and passports and all that stuff. So the immigration process is just insane, and it's just so backed up. And so, yeah, I just decided that I'm going to come here and visit her since she can't come into the country for
makes
the
perfect
next
sense.
Months. And,
now, what kind of things will you guys go do? Like, I guess you said the city, but what are the types of things that you'll go out and enjoy, or is it just all poolside all day?
Yeah. No, we're going to do cool stuff. So like today we went and we had like lobster, we had all that stuff, like lobster and crab, and we had that was kind of like my winning dinner I got to share with Ari and her. So we went out and had nice dinner, and then tomorrow we're gonna go to just like a cruise to like a private island and go like waterfall hunting and snorkeling and that stuff. And then actually on Friday, it's funny that Doug Bjerkes, he's like the manager of DD now, and he helps run the Dynamic Disc Open. He's actually flying in randomly, and I found out last week at the Dynamic Disc Open that he's going to be here, and he rented a private tuna fishing charter boat, and we're going to go like 5-hour charter and go tuna fishing, and then bring back the tuna and go eat it at a restaurant. So
Wow.
so we're just going to doing fun stuff like that. And then one night there's like a Cirque du Soleil show where you can go and they take for like a dinner, and then you get to see some Cirque du Soleil show and on like a private island or something. So yeah, just that kind of stuff is really cool. And I like the night. It's obviously nice weather. I get to walk around and get they always have mango smoothies on the smoothie stands on the side of the road, and coffee shops. Just for me, it's just doing all that stuff that like outside of disc golf, because I need to take a break. And just like anything, like, because for me 3 weeks is 3 weeks entirely straight. It's all day every day disc golf, nothing else. Where most people work Monday through Friday and they're done, and they get this kind of have their refill that mental well on the weekends, and do whatever they do with whatever their hobby is. Play disc golf for a lot of people, that's their hobby, but and they refill their mental well, and then comes Monday, and then it slowly depletes throughout the week, and then that process just keeps going. But for us, it's just Monday through Friday every day, or Monday through Sunday all day every day is disc golf. And so yeah, just doing anything I can, hiking, going out fishing, going swimming in the ocean, just going for a run on the beach, just being in nice weather, going cool coffee shops, just completely just tapping out from disc golf and just being a normal person and not having to just have all these obligations. And so it's just that's just the most refreshing thing, really.
No, it makes perfect sense. Obviously well deserved, and also even equally as deserving, if not more, is the fact that you've had the successes and put yourself in a position throughout all of these years that when you are successful and you've earned yourself the contract and the rewards in which you have, now you're rewarded even more handsomely than you were 5 or 10 or 15 years ago, or whatever the case might be, because you've continued to put forth this consistency throughout your entire career, which makes you one of our highest paid athletes. So in terms of your overall schedule, it looks like, this weekend, the challenge at Goat Hill is taking place. That's a Silver Series event. But the next one on your schedule that you're coming back for will be the Masters Cup, which I believe is also still is now a Silver Series event. So you'll come back to the Masters Cup, 3 rounds out there at De La. Some might ask, why bother when you're you? I think of Dickerson and Conrad and Macbeth and our most elite players, yourself included, kind of skip the Silver Series at this point because you're getting into the finals, in Charlotte. So why the Masters Cup? Why still compete at that one?
Yeah, no, I'll kind of go into something that the players have been talking about, and I appreciate you asking that, is that the points. That obviously, I think within the players, there's a lot of talk about, like, hey, I need to play this event to get in the points. And I think that's play this event to get points to go into the Pro Tour finale. But I think that's something that Pro Tour is doing a great job of, is adding drama. Like, hey, you got to play these events because you got to qualify for the points. And the players are really feeling that because fields are getting harder. It's harder to win tournaments. Just because I'm doing it doesn't mean it's easy. I'm thankful that I'm putting myself in the positions to win and capitalizing, which I have the 2 wins I've got. But it still doesn't mean it's easy. Just because you do something doesn't mean it's automatically easy, even if it may seem like it. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of mental energy. But anyways, yeah. So the Pro Tour is putting a premium on points and based on the fields, and so I think that for me, it's obviously I'm going to have enough points to qualify and get to the finale. But I think for me, it's just playing the events that I enjoy playing. Like De La, there's not going to be 40-mile-an-hour headwinds and raining. It's like,
there's just going to be 200-foot rollaways and.
I don't know, because a couple years ago it was like one of the nastiest rainstorms I've ever seen at De La playing through that. But
it's not common though. You're right.
Yeah.
Monsoon, but in general, most of the time, De La is 70 or 80 degrees. nice, not windy. You just get a lot of like, Terry, you played there. It's a lot of mid-range putter shots, fairway
Mm-hmm.
shots. You're not like throwing as hard as you can with a driver on every hole, which is what our tour is now pretty much, is bomber, throw as far as you can, and then chip up to the par four with OB everywhere, and try to land safe, and hopefully you don't have a heart attack with all the OB that it is everywhere. Because yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the challenge we have, is lots of out of bounds, lots of distance, and so Daylight just doesn't have that. So it's a lot. It's almost like a week off mentally. Obviously, I'm still going to focus. I'm still going to practice. I'm still going to go through my routine, but it's just not the stress of like going to a course where it's always windy, always rainy, that kind of stuff. And so it's just a fun course to play, and I just enjoy playing there. And so that's the biggest reason. It's not for points. It's not for money. It's just you sometimes got to do things just for it's fun. I just have fun playing disc golf there.
Okay.
And, I obviously can't say everywhere I go, but I mean, there's just tournaments that every year the rain clouds follow you, the tornadoes follow you, and so it just seems like the tournaments, and so that's definitely not one of them. And then the other Silver Series I'm playing is Beaver State Fling, and that's just always been one of my top 5 favorite courses. So those are 2 Silver Series I'm playing, and then everything else is pretty much an Elite Series, and yeah, I think that. I'd like what they're doing with the Elite Series. I think eventually they're going to have the Elite Series be it's like the coming up tour is like, if you're a top X player in the world, you basically just can't play the Silver Series. It's used for people trying to make the Elite Series. And I think that that's slowly what it's turning into. Obviously you'll have, the top 10 or 20 players in the world play a handful of Silver Series here and there. But for the most part, it's local pros and touring pros that on the way to the next stop they're either playing it or for whatever reason they're playing it just because they like it. But eventually, like I said, I think that's the goal, is just to have it be kind of a feeder tour into the Elite Series, and I like that. I think that they're slowly kind of forming that into what it's going to become down the road.
Yeah, it certainly has felt like that. One of my questions, and I'm going to backtrack just slightly, and maybe it would have fit in a little bit earlier, but we discussed you've at length discussed the mental grind that it is week in and week out. And as one of your, biggest competitors throughout the last decade, we saw Paul not make the cut. And in some ways, some people would say, who cares? That's not at all, a factor in this tournament. But I think you're fooling yourself as a disc golf fan if that's not news, and it is, in my opinion. It's news. He didn't make the cut. Sure, it was by a single stroke, but ultimately in a 4-round event, after 3 rounds, he wasn't in position to play to the next round. So my question to you is, I don't want to say that does that scare you, but does that make you think like, hey, any one of us are truly vulnerable because the competition has gotten stiffer, the courses are getting tougher, the mental grind is harder. Does that mean anything to you that Paul missed it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into it for sure. I mean, like you said, a lot of people, people are just going to spew right off the get go and not know what all goes into it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy. But like there's the courses are hard, the fields are harder, the conditions are insanely ridiculous for most of the tournament. And 3 weeks of tournaments in a row, that's there's a lot of that can snap you out mentally. And I think that for him, he's obviously just like me, he wants to win. And so once day 2 was, and he was not, day 2 came along and he didn't play very good. Now comes day 3, he's going in the tournament, and the third day, knowing there's a cut, or he might not even know there's a cut, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to get back in contention to win. And so the conditions, day 3, that's not a thing. When there's 30-mile-an-hour winds, you're not going to slam in 40, 50, 60 footers. What you're going to do is you're going to try to make that putt and 3-putt. And so, that the wind is just so unpredictable that you can't be consistent in putting in anything. And so when you're trying to just press and make up strokes, you're just going to lose strokes. And so I didn't even know, I don't know what happened, but I can almost guarantee that's what happened is he got hyper aggressive, and then you just completely get punished because most of the time when it's no wind, yeah, you can get away with that. He's good enough. He's a great player, great putter, and you have full control whether you make or miss a shot. In the wind, you can throw a perfect putt, perfect shot, get a wind lift, and there's a 2 or 3 stroke swing right there on one hole. Because you threw a perfect drive, lifted, went OB, then you throw your upshot, and then you throw a perfect putt, the wind lifts. I mean, that can happen. There's a 3-stroke swing on a hole for sure. I mean, within those winds, that's totally possible. You have a couple of those. Next thing you know, you just gave away 6, 7 strokes to the field. And so that's the kind of stuff. And it's not just the regular fields. I mean, these fields are, obviously the Dynamic Disc Open field was crazy. Tons of great players, and so people aren't just. There's going to be people out there that don't do that, and so you just got to know your limitations. And I think that he just doesn't care. He's just like, all right, it's all, I'm either going to get in contention to win or I'm going to miss the cut. And I guess that's just the type of player he is. And yeah, I personally don't agree with that. That's not, if I'm in that spot, I'm going to realize that, hey, if I have 6 50, 60 footers in a round, I'm going to 3-putt. Doesn't matter how good of a putter you are, you're pretty much guaranteed a 3-putt. If you're putting head and tailwind putts and you're chain high into a 30-mile-an-hour headwind, you're going to blow 30, 40 feet by every single time. and so just all those things that factor in, that plays a huge role. And so, that's kind of why I felt, like I had control of the tournament, is because when you have those conditions and you're trying to catch up, you're fighting an uphill battle. It's not just like, hey, you're down 6, 7 strokes with 2 rounds to play. It's, you're the round, like you saw, the hot rounds of the last round 2 and 3 are like 3 under and whatever, even or 1 under, because of how windy it was. And I knew that going in. I knew that there was 10, 5, 6, 7 under really wasn't even possible for some of the windy conditions. And so you just got to go in with expectations, realizing like, hey, there's limitations. I'm not going to be making these 50 footers, so I might as well just lay them up because I have way more of a chance to 3-putt than I do to make it. And that's just the bottom line. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are.
So I have to ask then, I'm looking at the leaderboard, and obviously congratulations on the win, but you've got Simon Lizotte, Vino Makala, and then you have Aaron Gossage, Logan Harpool, Jake Hebenheimer, Brody Smith, GT Hancock. What is it, in your opinion, I have opinions, that brought players that we're not normally seeing in the top 10 up to the top 5, so to speak? Obviously, for you, we know why you win. It's your skill, but these guys, we don't normally see them. So what do you feel like made it so that these guys are guys that we don't normally see? 10-10 rated players up at the top of an Elite Series event. That never happens right now.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. It's cool. I got to play with a whole new group of people. I think that was really cool. I was excited for their opportunities. I'm in this point my career where I'm thankful where I am, and I like to see new people try to make names for themselves and make a career for themselves, and I'm genuinely rooting for them. Obviously, I'm trying to win and be the fierce competitor that I am, but I like to see the Logan Harpools and talk with them throughout the round and say, good job, man. Good job getting here. Wish you the best today. Hope, it's going to be fun to play with you and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that it's, the confidence. Once you don't have the Pauls and the couple other people that didn't play very well, that opens up spots for other people. And so once that opens up, now, comes round 2 or 3, they start building some confidence. Like, oh, I can play on the lead card, or, like Brody, he played solid, and he's starting to build some confidence being in that spot, in the spotlight on the feature card. And so confidence is huge. I mean, if you're a player that's, used to getting 20th, 30th place, and then you jump up into top 5 or top 10, you start building that confidence and saying, hey, I can do this. And so I think a lot of players started building some confidence getting into a spot. You have to get into that spot to be able to succeed, to then build confidence. If you never get there, you can't build the confidence. So I think just getting into that spot for those players is a huge confidence booster for them. And I think it's big for their their points and all this other stuff, but it's just big for their confidence going forward into a next event. Even if they don't make a lead card for, if it's just next week, whenever the time is, next week or next 3 months from now, they're going to be able to kind of bank that and say, hey, what did I do wrong? What did I do good when I got under the pressure? And how can I kind of repeat that repeat the good things and kind of go back to the drawing board and say, hey, I missed this putt when I was under pressure. Let's maybe take a couple mental notes. That way, next time when I get under pressure, I can just think about these one or two things instead of just getting overwhelmed by the moment. And so, just all the little mental tips you can give yourself is super huge. And like I said, you can only get to that. You can only learn that when you're in that spot and learn to, even if you're failing, you learn how to, succeed the next time.
Was there and that's all great information. Do you think there was a specific skill this weekend that helped these guys as opposed to some of the other ones that we're not used to seeing? Was it better wind play? I mean, we know Logan Harpool is a Kansas guy. He's probably used to playing in the wind. Jake Hebenheimer has his horseshoe putt. I don't know if that helped him out or not. But do you feel like there was a skill that helped you and maybe these other guys excel at this event versus some of the other guys who maybe aren't used to it?
Yes, I would say 100% that putting was pretty much a non-factor for the first 3 rounds. You're not going to rely on 25 to 30 footers. If you are, you're not going to score because it's all about upshots. So upshots were the number one most important thing because when you're 150, 200 feet out, there's so much pressure on your upshot because if you throw an upshot and you can drop it in versus you have to make a 20 to 25 footer in the ripping wind. I mean, I don't even remember. I didn't make very many 20, 25 footers, if any, in the first couple rounds. Most of mine were just tapping either birdies or pars, or maybe even a bogey here and there. But so upshots were so important. So Jake has great upshot skills. He's great touch, and he's not theoretically been a great putter. So he's just got really good upshot skills. He's got really good touch around the basket. So he's able to throw a lot of upshots close to where that wind is not a factor. You leave yourself, let's just say 6 or 7, 25 to 30 foot putt in that range. You're going to maybe make 1 or 2 of those because of how windy it is. It's just, you're just going to get so many random reactions with your putter and it's going to drop, it could rise. And so versus the next guy, like say Jake, he has 5 or 6 tap-ins instead. Those are guaranteed up and downs. And so just the inconsistencies of the wind make upshots so much more important. Brody's really good at upshots. He's got that zone shot that he's got dialed, backhand and sidearm. So I guarantee the first 3 rounds he was throwing a lot of upshots really close, whereas maybe a lot of other competitors were having to grind in pars from 25, 30 feet, and they weren't making them a lot. And so that was the number one most important thing of the week. It was upshots. I really think that. And I think a lot of those players are theoretically really good upshot players, and I think a lot of them are good throwing sidearm and backhand because if you have a ripping right to left wind and you're forced to throw a backhand, it's going to get a lot more squirrely in that wind versus throwing a sidearm that maybe just get pushed down. You sit a lot more, a lot softer on the greens, and you're not skipping or the wind's not kicking up and kicking your disc left or right. So being able to control the spin with your sidearm into certain winds is super important too, because and I think that all that stuff plays a huge role.
Did you enjoy playing in that weather? We saw a lot of players that looked miserable.
See, I love the challenge. Obviously disc golf's we're so good at putting. We're gonna throw far. We're gonna get a lot of birdies. So I've played so much disc golf throughout my career where you're having to shoot 10, 12 under to be the hot round and to be in contention to win. That I love the challenge of like, hey, can I get to even or can I get to 1 under for this round? And I'll be pumped about that. But for me, I'm playing these conditions enough to where I can realize I can say, all right, here's the wind today. This isn't going to be a 10 under day. Pars are going to be the first 2 or 3 rounds. The pars were basically birdies, as you saw with the scores. I mean, if you parred every hole, when Jerm I think shot the 3 under, he had the hot round. Other than that, pretty much nobody shot into pars. So you parred every hole. It's whatever 1040, 1050 golf. I mean, that's pretty good golf. And so, there's almost no time you can ever say that. But so yeah, I like the challenge of like par is good. Disc golf, that's par's not very good. Par's not very good unless certain holes here and there. But in general, par's not. And so I just think it's a new challenge that I like from a golf background where you shoot 2 or 3 under in golf at a professional level every round. You're gonna win tournaments and you're gonna be in top 10 a lot. So he's just used to grinding out pars and just skirting along the course. And whereas disc golf, can I get how many birdies can I get in a row to give myself a chance to shoot the hot round? And so I thought it was a fun challenge, and it's unique for sure.
Yeah, not everybody is thinking, man, how many birdies can I get in a row, and can I get all 18 of them? Not everybody gets to think that. I just kind of randomly, well, for starters, you answered a question that I kind of had in the back of my head, which was putting irrelevant? And you almost verbatim said exactly that. It was irrelevant. So your top level players, some of them that wanted to still be aggressive or putt as if the wind wasn't there, that's what probably came back to bite them, and they don't have an advantage. When any one of you, I mean, whether it's Paul or the rest of you guys, yourself included, when you're so good from circle 1 and circle 2, but nobody's making them from circle 1 and circle 2, you're not picking up those advantage strokes. So I think you really nailed the overall premise of the weekend, is that just putting wasn't as crucial or as advantageous, and in fact, you said the upshots were. Quick side note, I just happened to look at the rounds and the out of bounds, and it'll be funny to compare them depending on the weather come August. But round 1 at the Jones Supreme layout, the MPO field, 534 OB strokes. You guys played way better in round 2 with 499 OB strokes as a division. Then you guys go over to the country club course, 710 OB strokes at the country club for the entire division. And then I was thinking, wow, it was so much more calm, but there was also a third, 2/3 less of the field. In round 4, there were 204 OB strokes. So it was more calm, but literally there was, all the worst players, including some washed up players, not, I kid. But, so round 4, I don't think you can really fairly compare to round 3, yeah. But 710 OB strokes. So believe it or not, I can find a question in all of this, and it would be, you said you had some fun out there, but a lot of fans really didn't like either watching you guys struggle and or seeing that much out of bounds. And sometimes those two overlapped. You struggled because there was OB, but yeah. Do you have a response to someone that's at home watching and thinks, man, this doesn't excite me. I don't like what we're watching, and I'm not excited for the World Championships. What would you say to them? Because you're the guy, doing the work.
So I think for me, so for one, the conditions are going to be way different I wouldn't say way different, but from people I talked to, and Eric McCabe, who designed the course and lives in Kansas, he basically says that the conditions are way less windy. So you're not gonna be seeing these 700 out of bounds in a round, because that's probably the windiest tournament. The first 3 rounds were were insane, and so those rounds were just ridiculous. And so that's a big reason why the out of bounds came in so much more into play. And you said an interesting stat, round 4 there was only 200, but if there was a full field, I bet there would still be about half the OB as round. So that the conditions were just completely insane. It makes us look stupid, but because we're throwing out of bounds and missing putts, laying up putts, but it's all strategical, because that's all. It's just a different style of golf. It's just completely different. Like you have it in ball golf. You have majors where people are missing super short putts. They're 3-putting. I mean some of the majors in golf, people are shooting 2 under and 3 under is winning the event, and so I think the Masters 14 under 1, mm-hmm. And so. Pretty comparable. They have a challenging course. They got wind. They got all the tough, the players get completely challenged. I don't know, Tiger made the cut and shot 8 over for the tournament and made the cut. Yeah, he got killed by the course the last couple of days of the cut. And so I think, but yeah, there's just different styles of golf. People are just so ingrained in seeing us, play in good conditions and be able to just make slam in putts, throw, long drives, and just never go out of bounds. There's the little bit of inconsistency with the wind, and you gotta try to just minimize, you just can't do exactly what you do without wind. with wind. And so I think for the viewers, it's just they're just not used to seeing me lay up 30 footers, and I don't think like this is what the heck's he doing, But the conditions were so hard that I literally felt like even if I throw a perfect putt, the wind probably will kick up and do something funky, and then I'm left with a 30-foot par putt instead of just laying up and having an automatic par when a lot of people are gonna go for that putt and get a bogey. And so it's all strategical, and you have to know that before the fact. Obviously, after the fact, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, if I played for par on every hole, I would have had the second hot round behind Germ, round 3. But I knew that going in, and so that's I think why I played so well, as I knew the expectation. I didn't expect to shoot 10 under. You just got to completely flip-flop, especially being a top player. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to shoot 10, 12, 13 under every single time I go out onto a course. But this week was a completely opposite, you got to flip the script here. You got to say, hey, the conditions are tough. There's OB everywhere. The wind is just completely ripping. And, I'm going to try to play for pars and, get some birdies where they come, but I'm not even going to force the birdies. If I just get pars, I'm pretty much fine with that.
Yeah, and I think about how you opened the tournament. Do you recall what went down?
Yeah, I threw straight out of bounds trying to lay up. So
and then you go to the drop zone. What are you doing running at that? Like, it's an elevated basket. If you don't draw legitimate metal, you're going right off the back side of that, and you're going OB again. And you're re-teeing or re-throwing from the drop zone, I think.
Yeah, that was insane, because if I had that same putt, I would probably just lay it up. I didn't actually even know the rule. So that rule actually, the fact that I didn't know it actually benefited me, because I probably just benefited me one stroke. And then after that, people were like, oh, you're a maniac. I'm like, what, I would have just tapped in and got a bogey or whatever. But they're like, no. Or I would have got a double bogey, actually. But I would have completely. And then after that, luckily, I executed the layup after that and then got a par. But yeah, I didn't know the rules, so I think that was actually beneficial.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way you opened the tournament, I mean, the OB is not a surprise necessarily at all, really, for anyone on that hole, even in calm conditions, but then to can the putt from the drop zone. What, I don't know if Emacs out there listening or not, and honestly, it shouldn't matter, but was there any hole or holes that you would love to see changed? We'll word it that way. I was going to say that you don't like, but let's just say, was there any holes out there you'd really love to see changed, or you think needed like a significant tweak?
At Jones Supreme.
I'd start at Jones Supreme, but I'd say either. Sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to answer one question first. So I want to also, because I know you said the viewers' expectation of us playing. I want to.
Yeah.
Like, I think when the viewers are watching, they got to realize the conditions too. They can't. You got to realize what we're playing, and it's hard to really see how windy it is. Because I've watched the FPO coverage, and I can you can sort of see their ponytails waving in the wind or whatever. But like when that's happening, that means it's absolutely ripping, and the viewers just can't see that. And so the viewers got to change their expectations for us players too, and say, hey, these conditions are tough. They got to battle through. So just like a player does, the viewers I think have to also do that and say, hey, like I can't expect Ricky just to make 50, 60 footers all day because the wind is so ripping. It's just, you expose your putter at any angle, it's just gone. And so so that's the one thing I want to say is just, if you're a viewer, realize that, hey, the wind is just as hard or harder than playing in the rain, I would say. And then onto your question, yeah, I think hole 1 honestly is just at Jones Supreme is I think it's a good hole. I like the green. I like the structure of the hole. I think that it's really cool how it's perched up on the rocks, and they did a lot of good architecture there. I just think the rule should change. I think that when you have that small of a green and it's like 280 feet, wind or no wind, it's a hard hole to hit that green. So you're just forcing a lot of people to lay up because the percentages really just aren't there to go for it with that small of a green. And if you miss the green, unless you're me and want to make a putt and not know the rule, and you get most of the time you just get an automatic bogey. But but just because I did that doesn't legitimize the hole. I'm not saying
you got lucky.
But yeah, exactly, I did. I got lucky. But yeah, I think that the rule just needs to change. I don't think it should be so punishing. I think that, and it's weird because I don't know, because I don't know if you should just make. I think it's a fine hole just how it is without making it out of bounds. But so that's one hole I definitely, and I think Eric's kind of took a lot of feedback from that and realized that, hey, I think we're going to change that. There's a couple holes that are kind of close to cedar trees also, that like you can be literally 10 feet away and just completely have no putt.
Yeah, like the green of 7.
I like that.
And the green of 8.
I like that.
Right?
I don't think we see enough of that in golf, where you have to literally place your approach shot on a specific side of the basket or you're in trouble.
Right.
I personally, and I know obviously everybody has their own preference, I think that really plays into the green as far as your placement shot. Like, oh man, I came into the left and I know that cedar's there. I really needed to get it more right, but I can understand how that could be frustrating.
Yeah, so I see it from a course design standpoint, but I think there needs to be like at least a standard of, hey, there's maybe 20 feet circle. Like, hey, there's cedar tree. Once you go to 22 feet, 25 feet left or right, yeah, there's going to be, you can place bushes and stuff there. But when you're like that close, I think you should have a legitimate, spot to be able to putt. But like I said, I agree with what you're saying as far as, I want to have some bunkers on certain sides of the green to where, hey, if you go on this side of the green, it's an obstructed putt. You can still make it, but it's just a lot harder than landing, 20 feet left versus 20 feet right. There's a huge difference there. And so you got to kind of be strategical. But I've heard some players talking about how they were frustrated with, and it's hard for, I've always felt like I've been pretty good as far as like, going to a course and, if I shred a course, oh, I love that course. Or if I get shellacked by the course, that course is terrible, but like, so just that I won doesn't mean it's the absolute perfect course in the world. I like the course and I think it's a solid course, but I think that there's definitely some things that can change, like hole 1. I think some of the greens clean up a little bit to where there's still trees there, but they're not literally like, I think some of them are literally like 10 feet away from the basket.
Yeah.
And
I think of hole 8 specifically, which I know you were under. Right, some of the trees near hole 8, those come in very close to the basket.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and so I think that there's small changes, but and so that's the other thing is too. The courses play so much different in wind versus no wind, and that's the thing is that course they made that course look so much different than it really normally plays, because it brought in so much more out of bounds than normal. I mean, some of the OBs that people were throwing in were just, people will never throw in that out of bounds unless there's that much wind. It's just you just see things that you don't ever see, like people picking up and rolling like crazy. I mean, you saw Brody shot on the one, he threw an upshot. It literally skipped, landed safe, and then just completely rolled like
hole 5,
50 feet randomly, like, and it was just like it looked like they just completely stopped, and it just all of a sudden still picked up and rolled sideways somehow. No trees, no nothing.
It didn't cost him a stroke though, because you guys took it way up further than you should have, and he hit that putt. Man, he should have been at least 30 feet further back based on the cameras. And I know you guys can't see that.
I saw that after.
Yeah, you guys can't see that. Yeah. No blame there. It's just funny. Like, well, he was unlucky, because I honestly, of all the shots I saw, and I literally see, I think, almost every shot on my cameras of the lead 2, maybe 3 cards. I didn't see a lot of really bad wind breaks, honestly, that I looked at, and I said, man, that was bad. That one that Brody got, that was utter baloney. It sucked, like, because it looked great and then it blew out, but then he got to take it up there, so ultimately he didn't really lose a stroke and this and that. But it
was like an optical illusion, and literally when we saw it, I was like, oh, cool, good shot, and then it just started flying sideways. I'm like, what the heck? There's no, how is that even possible? Defies gravity. But yeah, no, it's, and then the couple spit outs. I mean, the wind definitely affected that. I think that, you can say basket this, basket that, but I think when it's that windy and you're putting, it doesn't matter the basket. If you have a 40 mile an hour headwind, 30 to 40 mile an hour headwind, it doesn't matter if you hit a putt in the top of the chains, it's just gonna fly back.
But that's the point I was telling people, was like, we saw James Conrad have like 2 of those, and I no offense to James, but I called it lazy putting. He was within 15 feet. You can't hit it that high, and I know it's tough. We saw Jake, and one of the things I really liked about Jake Hebenheimer's putt was his dad putt comes in nose down into the chains almost every time, because the way his swing is, it comes up like the disc is rising, but the nose is down, so to keep that wind out. I feel like watching you players like hit these baskets middle to middle high, like you're like, just like you said, you're asking for those spit outs. Like you have to hit. Coming from the Midwest, we've played in maybe not wind quite as bad, but 20, 25 mile an hour winds. You know you have to get it right above the cage, get it nose down, and then I'll give you 90% of the time it'll stick. Sometimes you get the weird pitch up. I mean, there's no doubt. But I watched all these putts and I'm like, that one was high. In a normal wind, that's fine. But so many of these are like, you can't hit them high. You have to hit them low.
Or they threw them the right height and it lifted enough to hit high.
That could happen too.
Therefore, they come out.
Yeah, 100%. That could happen as well. Like you can be aiming low and the headwind lifts it up for sure.
Exactly. I guarantee it, that's the other thing is it's like it's so windy sometimes that you can't get too cute and be like, oh, I'm just going to try and land, 2 inches above the rim and you aim into the rim and don't get a rise and you just doink the putt. So it's like you'd rather take the chance to spit out and actually hit the chains and then you throw it right into the cage and have no chance, So that's the other thing that it's like it's hard to really, that's just getting nitpicky. It's hard,
Yeah,
spit
exactly.
out, you spit out. You still got to throw chains, in hard, because if you don't throw it hard into the chains, the wind's just going to do something funky with their putter anyway,
Now, I don't know if there's any truth to this, and the thought just came to mind, so I was going to text Jeff Spring specifically, but have you ever heard that the Pro Tour potentially has I don't want to say an amendment's not the word. No, I was going to say a stipulation as to if sustained winds get too extreme that they would consider halting play. Have you ever even heard of such a thing? Okay. I don't, no, and I only asked because I saw somebody else post it and it sounded as if they were in the know or semi-factual. I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that.
But that's why I was just wondering if you've ever heard of such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing an outdoor sport. I mean, that's just part of the game we have. I mean, yeah, you as long as as long as it's not so windy that trees are falling or any of that, that's really the most important thing. As far as play, I don't think the Pro Tour really is concerned unless a safety comes into hand. As long as the tournament gets played, I guess Jeff Spring probably doesn't care if we shoot 100 over or 100 under, as long as everyone's safe and everyone's like all the operations going good. I mean, that's pretty much. This was like 100 over type of weekend by the categorize. I don't think that'll.
Okay,
happen.
Somebody posted it in the chat and it was on the internet, so I knew it had to be true.
So do you think that should happen? if we see winds like this, where let's say we're not in worry of any sort of tornado, but we're seeing sustained 30-mile-an-hour winds. Do you feel like the postponement should happen? I mean, we saw the first 3 rounds would have been postponed practically this week.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is that then you do that and then it's like you run into like you won't, in Kansas you won't be able to pretty much play at all in the spring. But no, there wasn't that many trees to fall on people. I think that's kind of the stuff that runs through their heads. Is like Kansas, we're not playing in a forest like we are, Vermont or MVP or one of those. So there's not really a bunch of trees that can fall and hurt somebody. So I think that in my opinion is more important. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's insanely challenging to throw a shot, and it almost feels like you can't throw a disc once it gets to a certain level of wind for sure. I'm not saying that it's easy, but yeah, I mean, I think 40. I think 40 would be like, that would be like, if I had to make a rule, then I'd make a cutoff. But then it's like, how do you judge it? Because it could be 40 mile an hour for 2 seconds.
Well, and again, I know I'm digging down a maybe a non-existent rabbit hole, but what I had seen posted was sustained 30 mile per hour plus. So yeah, not talking about a 40 mile an hour gust, or when this weekend it certainly got up to gust of 30 plus, etc. I had read sustained 30 mile per hour plus. I'm taking a random shot at texting Jeff Spring to see if this exists, or if somebody was just yanking my chain on the internet, which has never happened before.
Which is funny because, like you said, you and I have been around forever, and I've never seen it.
And correct. And I know it's not a PDGA rule. I'm wondering if there is a designated stipulation or amendment or whatever you want to use. Yeah, that's something that's specific to the Pro Tour. it's not crazy. It's not entirely crazy.
No.
But as a purist of the game, I wouldn't think it exists, but maybe it does. That's why I brought it up.
I'm pretty sure the USDGC did it one year for when Germ won in the. I think they were saying that's why one of the reasons why they canceled it, because the wind was going to be so strong that they were literally thinking trees were going to start falling on people.
Yeah, and
correct.
I think
that
they
was a hurricane.
Hole
route.
4 had issues, I believe, with branches falling at USDGC.
Yeah,
so.
I understand that was a very unique scenario with literally a hurricane on the way, and they're like, if we don't give Germ a win here, we don't know if he'll ever get one. So like, no, I just no, but seriously, so I understand that was a very unique scenario, and I fully support what they did there. I just didn't know if there was maybe, somewhere that the DGPT had put this out. So no big deal. Yeah. So obviously we come back almost 4 months to the day within, it's pretty close to 4 months later, the world returns, the world championships come back, all that good stuff. And, to the mothership of dynamic discs, to your first world championship win in 2016, riding the waves, the winds from this year. I mean, how much do how much of those good vibes do you tuck under your pillow, and how much of those do you just forget and say, hey, I've got to buckle up for a whole new tournament come Worlds?
Yeah, I'm definitely like soaking it in and like this week, this last week, I relied a lot on my previous experiences there. I mean, just knowing what you can and can't do on these courses when it gets to those conditions. I think that's experience plays a huge role in that. And so for me, that was a huge part that allowed me to outlast the field, is because I saw people, Thomas Gilbert, for example, he must have three-putted 3 or 4 times that one round when I played with him. And he's a great player. He's a great putter. He just, that's the win for you. If you're hyper aggressive on your putts, you're just going to 3-putt if you have, a lot of 30, 40, 50 footers. And so that, I think I'm able to do that and fall back on experiences when I need them, and I feel like is comfortable. But you can never live in the past too much. I still have to. I'm using every tournament as a building block, and I used every round as a building block this week. I definitely thought about, hey, what I'm going to treat this like a world championships. What can I do situationally on this hole to get myself ready, so that way when I come back for the actual worlds, I can kind of soak this all in, and then pretend that I'm at the worlds. And so just taking in all the elements, taking in all the variables of the course, and seeing what I do under pressure. I think that's also another thing that's super important. And I always go back to that is, hey, what do I do under pressure? What are my tendencies under pressure? So that way next time I get into the spot, hopefully at the world championships, I can make the adjustment on this hole with this wind condition, with this, whatever the situation may bring. And so for me, that was something I was definitely thinking about this week, and that I can bank in my brain and memory and bring it out when I need it at the Worlds.
Now, speaking of banking things, clearly a weekend like this weekend, all but jack stats for the year. I mean, there might be more, well, we just talked about 710 OBs in a single round, which I know isn't a personal stat. Well, it is a stat for people, but everything gets a little bit thrown off. When you have people multiple times this weekend laying up from inside the circle, does any of that matter? And I guess maybe because it applies to everyone that was there, everyone's stats got a little jacked for the weekend, but does any of that matter to you?
Yeah, it's funny because I travel and I've been good buddies with Corey Ellis this year, and he won the putting
83%, right? C1X, 83% last year?
92% putt circle one.
Okay.
And the first thing I said to him, and I go, dude, you didn't even play Dynamic Disc Open. Like, what? That's not even a thing. That's not real. and then this year, he told me a story where he parked one of the holes at Country Club, and it was like a 330-foot hole. Threw it inside the circle, and then ended up taking an 8. And so I was I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he ended up missing the cut. And I was like that's a perfect example of what the wind can do, and how it can mess up your stats. I mean, you add up the strokes when you throw it inside the circle and take an 8. That's a a lot of percentage points that's going to go against your putting stats. And so, yeah, I mean, it plays a huge factor in it because, like I said, like you said, you weren't even trying to make it. So should it even really count against your stats? It's such a weird thing because it's like, you can't, most of the time, it's situation. It's just so tough. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it counts against everybody. And I think that, it's as many people that are going to lay up. I feel like it should even out in the long run. But, if you're a good enough player and a good enough putter, you can get your stats back to normal after, a couple events. If you drop down to maybe 80% or something after this, if you have a couple 90-something percenters in a tournament, you can jump back up to a normal. It's still going to overall drop it.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But yeah, I think for the players that maybe didn't play it, like last year, Corey didn't play it, and that's I think a big reason why he won. And he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a great putter, and I play with him a lot. He's absolutely deserving of a putting title because he's a great player. But yeah, it definitely pads some stats. Like sometimes it can even do the opposite and make you look like you're a great circle one putter if you're having a bunch of 34 footers and just outside the circle, but you're missing them, and then you just tap in for the next putt, then it makes it look like you're 100% from circle one.
Sure.
But that just tells you that you're not throwing the disc very well if you're not throwing it inside the circle. It doesn't mean that you're a good circle one putter,
Very true. Now, following all of that up, why are you missing more putts this year? Like, I love you, but you have missed more than I expect of you. You are an elite level putter, and I can think to a number of times I've been out on the course and like my jaw drops. Like you missed. I can think of a few at Champions Cup specifically. But you've missed more than and this is truly a compliment because you have a high bar. I expect every time you touch a putter from inside 66 feet, I expect you drawing metal or putting it in. I genuinely do. Yeah. Like, honestly, I do. So when you have airballed or even just flat out missed a few putts this year.
I've gasped at a few of your putts on live coverage. Like,
like what?
Well, I didn't expect that.
So I'll say, why are you missing putts?
Dude, if I knew, I would stop doing it. I wouldn't have to tell you.
Well, I'd like you to report back and fix it and report back. I mean, am I wrong? Tell me, am I wrong? No, are you missing a few more than normal?
Yeah, no, you're right. I have missed more than I would like, but there's just one thing that I'm doing that's really stupid and it's stuck in my head right now. Where normally I'm looking at the basket. And sometimes I'll black out and like just for whatever reason I'll just like stop.
Me too.
Like focus on a link or something. I won't focus on the spot that I'm looking at. And I'll just kind of just putt without blindly without looking at the actual target. Like unless I'm zoning in, then as soon as I just look at the basket as a whole, then I miss the putt because I'm not focused on the actual spot that I want to hit. And so I'm doing, it's a focus thing for me as well. I'll lose focus and not look at where I want to putt, and I'll just do something stupid. And so it's a mental thing for me where I just don't fully focus. I almost take it for granted, and I'm like, all right, well that was stupid. That's what you get, and so yeah, that's just on me. It's something I'm working on to incorporate that in my routine and get it there every single time. And so it's in putting is always something. It's all routine. And you gotta for me it's going through a 1, 2, 3 thing. All right, focus, get your spot, and then maybe take 2 mental notes that, hey, I want to swing my arm like this, extend my arm towards the basket, or whatever the 3 little tips you have that you give yourself. Those are the most important things when you're playing tournaments and you're under pressure a lot.
Now the other thing, there's a disc, Johnny, can you hand me that? The other thing that you've done this year, because again, this is my job. Sometimes I make up stuff, sometimes I'm on. But the other thing you've done this year with your putting specifically is you're no longer holding. I'm going to try and hold up a Heimberg destroyer here.
In front of your face.
You no longer pull up your left hand and rest it against your putter.
Yeah.
You intentionally have pulled your hand back, and you're coming through and swinging with just one hand, and you don't have that other point of contact. I noticed that months ago, right?
It's actually, yeah. No, it's actually something I'm actually, for some reason, at some point I stopped doing that, and I couldn't tell you why. It's just like for putting is so weird. There's all these little minute things that like sometimes I forget, and sometimes I'll do, and then I won't. And so I'll notice when I start missing putts is I'll start doing something like focus thing, or like you said, putting your hand. Like I'm still working on, like that's something that I've actually noticed myself. And sometimes we're just so stuck in our ways that we don't even notice that. But like I've noticed, that's something I've been working on, because I think stabilizing the putter for me is something I want to do. It's just sometimes it's not part of my routine for whatever reason, and it's all about muscle memory. If you're not doing it in practice, you're not going to do it in the tournament. And so for some reason, I think I was like putting with a bunch of putters and wasn't able to like put my hand on my putter. And then I started holding, a stack of putters in one hand and putting in the other. And then I just kind of got used to like not stabilizing the putter, but then it wasn't actually a good thing.
Wow.
Because, if you're not stabilizing the putter, sometimes you're with the other hand, can slip out, or the angle isn't, held from this way to the basket all together in one motion. But anyways, I want to stabilize the putter with the other hand. That's something that I'm still going to try to incorporate down the road.
Okay. And I'm not saying that is then related. I'm just saying.
There we go.
You and I have swapped a few putters back and forth, and I've seen you make various styles, whether it's a spin putt, whether it's your pitch putt, all of the above. And these are some of the things. I mean, the very first putt I saw you take this year in person, I noticed that your left hand wasn't there, and I was like, this is different. This is not what he's normally done. And I've seen it's been very consistent since. And I've also, and I'm not saying it's related to your other not makes, but it's just these are a couple of things I've noticed. So that's all.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you do you, bro.
I can soak in the salt and make improvements based on it. So thanks for throwing the salt at me.
Salt life, bro. Salt life. You
Okay,
and your
I
Mexico.
Listen,
and in Mexico, bearing off on you.
And we won't keep you too much longer, I promise.
Salt in the air.
Oh, jeez. But we have to ask about the outfit. It's the talk of the internet. It's the talk of a lot of Twitter, of social media, Facebook, everywhere I go. Like I said, our graphics guy Nick, internally, the entire round we referred to you as Drippy Wysocki because you had the drip. You were going. I mean, that's the way it was working. We like to try to come up with nicknames to a lot of players that even if they already have them in the control room. What's going on with the hat and the matching shirt? Give us a little bit of insight behind the outfit.
Yeah. So my sponsor Circle One sent me a hat, and then Ari, my tour manager, got the hat and everything, and she's like, you're not wearing this. This is an awful look. And then, of course, that makes me want to wear it even more. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely wearing this now. I'm like, if you wouldn't have said anything, I would have been probably not wearing it. But, like, since you hate it, I'm definitely going to do the opposite just for fun. So I wore it, like, day 2. I was like, oh, yeah, this is funny. I'm walking around the Airbnb like, oh, yeah, I'm going to wear this today. Like, seriously. And she's like, hey, you're funny. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to wear it. And then I put it on again the next day. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to wear it today. And then eventually I got the courage to actually, like, walk out of the house with it. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it. Like screw it. I'm just going to wear this thing and see what happens. And I was expecting people to, like, roast me and think, like, look up, like make fun of me. But most people didn't say anything. And they were like, I'm like, dang, maybe I made a good choice. People actually like this thing. Like, that's cool. But yeah, it's just got like raptors on it and all kinds of different dinosaurs. And I have a matching shirt. I actually have a matching towel too. So my sponsor Circle One has been making them, and we got different colors. So I think there's white, there's a pink one. There's all kinds of cool colors coming out. So yeah, they're making them. And I just want to mix it up, have some fun. Plus it blocks the sun. It's part of my brand. I'm a Raptor legs. It's got dinosaurs on it. It blocks the sun. It's different. It's mixing up my style. I mean,
it looks different.
Into it.
I feel like you're jacking my style because, as Terry knows, I've been wearing a bucket hat since like the late '90s. Because I like, as many can tell, I'm I'm pasty like a ghost. So for me, it's more of a sun prevention issue and not so much of a style issue. But I see with the tight cut on the side, you got to keep that protected from the sun. You don't want a sunburn up there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now I'll follow that up. I think I saw a post from Circle One earlier saying that they love that everybody's been seeing it, the memes, everything else, communications, pictures. It's been crazy. And then they went ahead and said that the Boonie hats are planned for the summer of 2022 collection. So everyone's got to sit tight and just wait for those all to show up. But you can pre-order them, and there's a free plug for you, Circle One. I know you guys are great guys over there. So, but yeah, I mean, what you did though is you preemptively created a little too much demand that people might get impatient.
You had to wait.
So it sounds like Circle One is hustling as hard as they can to get those out for you.
Circle One should definitely be opening up their pre-order list right now.
Exactly it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. So it's just something new and fun. I want to just mix it up, spice it up. And
are we going to keep seeing it though? That's the question.
I think so. I mean, it was the only weird part is like when I was putting, it kind of could like see the like the top happy part of the hat, and yeah, I mean, if I can use one excuse, I guess I say that's maybe why I missed a putt.
Yeah, that's the hard part with those is that when you putt.
My goldfish died. That's why I missed the putt, Terry. I'm sorry.
When you putt, you have to flip them up, but then they look really dumb. Let me tell you, you look really goofy then. And I'm not afraid to look stupid. Trust me.
No, you do that well.
I do it very well. But yeah, it's yeah.
Well, then you look really stupid.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know.
All right, Rick. Well, go ahead.
Johnny B, you flipped up your hat and then still missed the putt, or what?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I guarantee you. I've missed a lot of putts in my day, Ricky. You know, sometimes they're like you, where I just don't think them through. Sometimes I sit and think about them Nico style, and I still miss them. It doesn't matter.
Rick, of course, we've covered a lot of topics, but I'll give you an open floor. Is there anything else going on that we didn't touch on that you wanted to bring up, or anything else for this year that's in the works, or anything of that nature? Any open floor is what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah, well, a couple things I guess I'll talk about is the slammer. I mean, that a lot of people have been asking me like what I was throwing last week and stuff. The slammer was a great disc, and I went into upshots, and I think that's a big reason why my upshot game was great, is because I was throwing the new disc. Dynamic disc came out with is a slammer, and goes back to Dynamic really, and how supportive they are of me and the players really in general. I think me just being a part of the team in my new contract, I think that's really sparked a lot of players on the team to start getting what they deserve. And I think that Dynamic's really supportive of the players, and that's just the number one thing that, when you support the players, they give back to the company, and that's something that also is super important. And the first putt initiative for my Saki Bomb Foundation, also that's another thing that we're working on, is donating 50 discs and a basket to different schools, 100 different schools the first year, and that's the first initiative. Then we're going to work our way into more initiatives after that. But yeah, you can go to sakibombfoundation.org to you can donate, or you can also just volunteer or pick a school. So it's not just donation. Obviously, it'd be great to get a lot of donations. That way we can give back and use my platform to give back to the schools, give baskets, give discs, and get just kids playing. And so that's so you can volunteer, you can donate, and you can also nominate a school. If you have a kid, or if you have a school that you feel is deserving, you can nominate that school, and we can then go through and pick the schools that we feel is most deserving of everything. We obviously have a lot more submissions, and then we can really go through all at once. But we're working on that, and but yeah, that's something that's kind of new for me that I'm working on. That I'm thankful that I can use my platform to grow disc golf. And we did the first one in Vegas. We went to a school, kind of like a lower income area, and we went to the school and just kind of set up some baskets. I went to the assembly, and I was the assembly guy for the day, and all the kids got together, and they're like, "Oh, who's coming to speak?" And then they showed some of my highlights. I went in there and just kind of talked about my career and just shared some time with the kids, and they had a blast. And then we did like a ring of fire, and I was like putting from 30 feet, and they're like trying to make 10 out of 10, and I would like make one putt, and the kids were like, "All right, 1, 2, and then every time I made a putt, they would like count the putt. All right, 4, 5 out of 10, and then so that was just it was just super cool to get an engagement with the kids, and then we let them putt, and just just to see them enjoy the game, and just brings me back to when I was in high school or when I was in elementary school, and get to see the assembly, get all excited for the assembly and all that stuff. So yeah, it's just cool that I can use my platform, and I'm thankful that I can use my platform to grow the sport in that way.
No, it's incredible. Good to hear that you've probably got plenty of submissions coming in, and I posted a link for it here in the page. And anyone that wants to reach out, make sure you go out there, find that, and follow the links along so that you can support Ricky and everything going on with the initiative. Awesome to see, and I'm sure that's just going to continue to grow. And we're seeing a number of our players do all the various ways that they are. And I know you talked to us at great length last time you were with us about how you've arranged this initial initiative with one basket and all the putters and all the discs. I think it's awesome, and I think of what Yuli's doing which is very different from what, Macbeth is doing, which is, very different from what Paige Pierce is doing. Like, you guys are all doing it in your own unique ways and perspectives. And nothing but admiration for that. That's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're doing that, and I think that's another sign of the growth of the sport, that we're able to obviously make a living and build our brand, but we're also able to then use that brand to grow the sport. I think it's awesome that we have that many pros out there doing that, and I think we'll see more and more doing it in the future. It's just going to help everybody, create a lifelong hobby for kids, and it's just awesome to see that. Obviously we all have, the disc golf community shares the passion of disc golf. And I think that for me, it was like, another thing was like, you hear a lot of older generation of disc golfers like, oh, I wish I would have found disc golf when I was younger. And so you just always hear that. And so now it's like, all right, now I don't have to hear that. I can just automatically spread the word right off the bat without, and then these kids can just be thankful when they get older. Like, hey, I'm so glad I found disc golf when I was 8 or 10 years old or whatever,
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a great initiative, and again, everybody should go out and find ways to support. I think I was doing some kind of work that got me distracted and didn't get my order in for slammers for these early run slammers. Do I just call up? Is there a Ricky Wysocki SmashBox code that I need to call phone? That I need to call into DD with so that I can get my hands as an authorized dealer here? I don't know. I'll tell him Rick sent me. And there's a Ricky special, right? Can you make that?
No, just send me a message. We'll get you one.
All right. I need 100 to sell, but yeah.
Oh, well, then I can't.
It's a little different. It's a little different. Then you need to call Ari.
Yeah. Ari, we need to talk.
I was going to grab one from my collection and give it to you, but now you just kind of doing that.
I do want one to own it. I've got a lot of incredible discs that, of course, get filed away in terms of like a historical purpose. And then, yes, to fulfill all of the demand, I need to get my hands on some as well as a dealer and offer them up to people. So,
all right.
Oh, Ari's got me. I like
Ari
it.
says she's got us. So
yeah.
We're not worried.
When's the last time you played, Terry?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it fully counts, but right at Jonesboro, we got done broadcasting Jonesboro, and I went out behind Bevel with Nate and Val. They installed 2 baskets, and they have a putting course, which for some reason they said you're not allowed to do it. But anyway, there's a putting course right behind Bevel. Val and her mom and a couple others set up 18 different putting spots to the 2 baskets. I'm not saying I beat Nate and Val, but I might have. And so that wasn't even really a full course in terms of throwing shots. It was just putting. So that would be the last time I actually. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I played a round of golf.
I haven't played one. I haven't played one this year. I played back in like October or November, and I haven't touched one yet this year.
I mean, is that weird, Terry? That you don't like? Is that weird to you that you don't play or no?
It's not as weird as it used to be. I knew 6 or 8 years ago when I gave up finally the Wednesday night league I used to run. I was like, I kept holding on to running that because I thought, well, okay, this forces me to play 1 round of golf a week. And then as soon as I quit running that, I almost entirely quit playing. And I tell everybody, I could play these courses. I should have brought some discs to Emporia and played a flex start. I've got just as many hours in the day as you do. I simply don't prioritize it. And I want to change that. I want to get out and actually play a little bit more. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think just have fun. Yeah.
I'll go out and play with you. And then you'll. I was gonna say you can only throw certain shots, but that's not gonna help me.
No, there's no shots you can limit him to.
Unless I make him.
You can only throw
with
grenades.
His feet.
You can only throw grenades, and then maybe you keep up. Maybe.
Dude, grenades hurt my thumb. When you ever, like when you throw it like upside down like that,
Yeah.
it rips your thumb.
They rip it up. Yeah.
Yeah. How does Kevin or Eagle?
He doesn't like most people like put their thumbs kind of in like this to throw it, but I think some of them. It's hard for me to show. Like, will actually like push their thumb like this so it doesn't rip your thumb out. Because you're right. When I throw a grenade, I have it in like this, and it just tears at some point, like this. But I've seen some people put their thumb in like this to get more power, and it doesn't tear it up as much. So,
okay.
I don't know. Clearly, they're better than us. So,
cool. You answer my question when the played was, Terry. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
You played 2. Yeah. Still, when was the last time you played a round of 18 holes?
Sometime in the winter-ish at a winter course here in Milwaukee. So
that's so at least 6 months or something.
Probably 3 or 4 months-ish ago, December, January. I probably finally went out.
All right, good deal. I was just curious.
No, it's a fair question.
We're supposed to get 80 degrees here next week.
Yeah,
it's been miserable in Wisconsin for and the Midwest in general has been nothing but wind and rain, and you'll get the occasional. It's like cool. It's going to hit 65 degrees, but it's going to rain all day, and it's just miserable. But now I think we're finally getting past the crappy springtime, and we're going to get into some decent spring where some of us will actually get out and play. So I'm excited.
I did. This doesn't quite count, and I am going to go play more, but I did confirm today that I'm on Monday going to go look at a really nice piece of property to possibly design another course on.
Oh, great.
In Wisconsin. So that's not quite the same, I realize, but if that provides, rounds to thousands of others, that might have a payoff there.
Where's that? Is that like northern Wisconsin or something?
No, southeastern Wisconsin actually is where I'll be heading.
Cool.
So, and I'm going to run a B tier in 2 weeks because I'm not going to be in OTB. So registration open tonight. So I need a plug from you. If you could just say, hey, everyone, sign up for the Skyline Classic. I'll be there, even if you won't. It'd be great.
Just say you'll try to be there. I mean.
I'll try to be there, guys. Hopefully I can be on your card if I end up playing. But is it like
what's that?
Isn't Skyline like a chili place in Ohio?
It is, and I briefly had a run as a. I created the Skyline as a name, Skyline Disc Golf as an apparel name brand, and that was probably 10 years ago now. And then I ran an amateur series under it, and just something a little bit unique and different. And that's when I created the Skyline Classic, and I continue to run the event, even though I'm not really doing anything with that branding. So yeah, but it's also a chili chain in Ohio. That's terrible. I've tried it. It's terrible.
Yeah, it really is. It really is horrible. People in Ohio love it, but it's like a bunch of slop. It's terrible.
Yeah, not good at all. So yeah, I'll keep myself plenty busy. But here's what I'm gonna do, Rick. I'm gonna play a round of golf, and I'm gonna report back to you, and I'm gonna say that's gonna happen in under a week's time. So I'm gonna go play some golf. Yeah. Probably more than you for once, right? In the next week.
Actually will. I'm not going to play that much. I'm taking some time off. So you're going to play more than me, dude. That's crazy.
Do it.
Now, will you throw a Frisbee? Will you do any putting? Will you do any of that in the next few days or no?
There's a course like 10 to 15 minutes away. So I think there's like a 9-hole course. So I might go over there, run over there and just throw around for fun. So yeah, I might just, that might happen. I'm not sure yet. I brought a stack of a couple 5 or 10 discs that I can, if I wanted to go to a soccer field or something locally and just throw around, I might do that. But we'll see how I feel. See how sunburned I get.
I mean, I genuinely understand time off and not touching a disc, but for you, it just feels like that would be tough for you to do. Be like, hey, 7 straight days, I'm not throwing a disc. Like maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see you doing that. I can't see you going 7 or 10 straight days without throwing a disc.
It is really weird. So I'll probably go like 2 or 3 days and be like, all right, gotta touch a disc. Can't stop. Can't do this anymore. Like that's probably what's gonna happen. But
okay,
I'm gonna try.
All right, Rick, we're going to let you go. We want you to continue to enjoy your time there. Thank you to Lily and Ari for letting you, for sharing you with us here. I know our Smashbox fans love having you. You're always welcome to come, whether you win or not. You're always welcome to come on, and we really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, and glad I could join you. And better shoot a good round, Terry.
All right, I'll report back.
Do it, Miller.
I'm going to raptor leg all over. See you, buddy.
All right, good night, Ricky.
All right, Ricky Wysocki.
Drippy Wysocki.
Yeah, sorry, Drippy.
That's what we're going to go with.
Drippy Wysocki. So good to have him, as always. If he would just loosen up a little.
That guy, we say it almost after every interview, just the progress and media savvy he has attained over the last 5 to 6 years is phenomenal, and yeah. I'm it's awesome to see that he is much more comfortable in his own skin, and doing this type of interview with us is great. Yeah,
we appreciate it. And that hat, we appreciate that too. We'll go.
I appreciate the hat. In fact, right behind this curtain is my it's not a bucket hat, which was what a lot of people were calling it.
Yeah, a boonie
is what boonie hat, which is similar to what I have. It's more. Granted, I had the bucket hat back in the '90s. There's a few pictures Terry has shared on my birthday of me in like this blue bucket hat that I had, like a fisherman's kind of cap. But this is a boonie with a bigger brim. It's behind the curtain there. It's in my little disc golf area where, if I want to go golfing and it's sunny, I grab that and throw it on my head.
They don't call you Drippy, though.
They do not. Absolutely not. I don't have, because I don't have the matching shirt.
Oh, that's the reason.
If I had the matching shirt to go with it,
okay,
that's different. Unlike Terry, who back in the day had a matching shirt and shorts that he stitched his PDGA number in.
Yes, I did. I did. Absolutely.
Not going to lie. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the other people at the DDO, the Dynamic Discs Open. Shout out for Dynamic Discs. Second place, Simon Lizotte, showing up and playing great golf. His walk-up song was Daddy, which I got a kick out of. Third, like I said, tied for third place. We saw it was Vino, Aaron Gossage, Logan Harpool, and Jake Hebenheimer, and Brody Smith. And then you drop down to 8th place, which is Chris Dickerson and GT Hancock. And tied for 10th was Calvin Heimberg, James Conrad, and Gannon Burr. So there's your top 10 in MPO. And I know we've talked about this event quite a bit with the wind and the weather and the course. By the way, which I love hole 1. The only change I would think about making maybe is on that back row of bricks. Maybe put 2 or 3 more bricks up. Make the
create a backstop.
Create a slight backstop that lets them at least, not a huge one, not as big as the island at the country club, but kind of a bigger one. So at least if you do want to run at it and you want to try to get nice and accurate, keep it low, because we did see a few that did skip off and over that. I'd like to see that kind of eliminated, but not so much where you can just, it's a wall. I'd like to see kind of a short mini wall, like a Terry wall.
I mean, there is a short mini wall there.
The's like one brick. It's like one brick. I would like to see it like 3. Like maybe 3 bricks.
You'd like it thicker.
I'd like it thicker like Terry.
a little bit thicker, okay.
So have Terry lay down and put bricks up till you can't see him. And then we're good.
Hopefully that'd flatten me out a little with bricks on top
if the bricks are on top of you. Anyway, the players that we saw at the top, as we talked to Ricky about, unique. Other than Simon, and then we see Chris Dickerson in 8th, but we haven't seen Vino up there. Aaron Gossage, big thrower. Logan Harpool, a DD sponsored player, but like a 10-10 or something rated player. Jake Hebenheimer with the dad putt, and Brody Smith. And I think some of this is related to, obviously, the wind that we took out the first 3 rounds, the strengths of a lot of our players, which is putting. A lot of these guys that normally finish in the top 5 or 10 are phenomenal putters. The wind absolutely compressed that.
Yeah.
And it made it a different style of golf. And I'm here to say I liked it. I wouldn't want to see it all the time. I don't want to. I know a lot of people complain that they don't like watching players lay up from 25 feet. And I get that. I wouldn't want to watch that throughout the year either. But I've gone on record saying in the past that I love that our sport has so many different styles of play. You start out on the West Coast with your big bomber hyzer courses. You move to the Midwest where now you're dealing with the elements, and it's a little bit more park style golf. And it's less about the big bomber drives. You got a little bit more OB. And then you move to the East Coast at the end of the year where you've got these nice wooded courses. And I love me a wooded course where you need to hit these pure lines. But I don't understand, and I guess I do understand, but I don't agree with the people online that are screaming about how they hate this. They hate this. They hate these courses. They hate this style. They don't like to watch this boring golf where players have to lay up and they can't just throw it as far as they want and end up in bounds. It's, to me personally, and I know this is my own opinion, but that's why I have a podcast and a lot of people don't, is that I like the variety. I liked watching this. I liked watching these players. Not that I didn't like watching them struggle. I liked watching them really have to think about every shot. Really think about how far do you want to throw? Where you would normally try to throw a big flex shot, maybe you can't. Maybe you just have to throw a forehand shot. And then realize that you're not going to make the green, that you have to throw another shot to get to the green. And I think, looking at Brody, I think that's specifically what helped him excel was that he played smart golf. He didn't go for a lot of stuff. And he said it himself, I think, in our interview, that his weakness is his putting, his spin putt. He doesn't have it. So he can't putt in the wind. Whereas you get some players that will be able to make some of these putts in the wind, and not a lot of them, but a few of them. He couldn't hardly do much of that. And so he lost strokes because of that. But he gained them in his accuracy with his forehand and his overstable discs. I think we saw a lot of really overstable power players able to shoot a little bit better here. And I'll tell you what, if we had this event every year just like this, I'm here for it every single year. I don't mind that we have to play in 20 or 30 mile an hour winds as long as it's not very often. Again, I wouldn't want to see it all the time, but seeing it once in a while, man, it has nothing to do with humanizing the players. I just think it's a different skill set that you really have to look at. And yes, it does add some, if you're online, RNG, which is, random number generator, some randomness into the throws. But I feel like the players know that going in. The players have their thumb on the scale, because I'll tell you what, was it hole 2 or 3 where we saw on the final round, we saw Brody. Yeah, it was hole 2 where Brody went for a really big drive off the tee, ended up throwing it and going OB, whatnot. He could have thrown a forehand and minimized that variable. And granted, you're probably not going to get a 3 on it if you do that. You're definitely not going to get a 2. You're probably guaranteeing yourself a 4, but that'd have been 2 strokes better than the 6 he took. And that was one of the holes where he decided to get aggressive, and it bit him. There were other holes where he really scaled back, and I was very impressed with a lot of the guys on the top. Brody, Jake, Logan. In the control room, we were all rooting for Logan. We were literally chanting his name at one point for a few reasons. One, dude played fast, and as a control room, we love a fast player. Second of all, he seemed like a really good guy. He's a part-time golfer. He's not even a full-time Pro Tour golfer. So that right away gives him a leg up for a lot of us. Just, it's that underdog story. And second of all, he had the crowd behind him, which absolutely helped stoke that excitement for a player. So we were in the control room. We were all rooting for Logan Harpool over everybody else. Even we knew Ricky had it, but we don't root very often in the control room. We're trying to be a little impartial.
Wow.
But we were rooting.
Don't get on a mic.
But we were rooting for Logan.
Certainly some incredible stories throughout the weekend. You know, I know we saw a little bit of Jake specifically back in Waco, and there were some conversations about his putt there. You know, and let's also throw it out there. We get that Jake didn't invent. He did not invent that putt.
Okay, we saw that.
I'm certainly not trying to. I've never tried to push that narrative. I think any way a frisbee or a disc is thrown today has certainly been done before. It's just a matter of if it was effective and or popular in the past. So I get it. I know there's some really, really worked up people that are on the internet that are generally now older that feel wildly offended that we're calling this new or unique or whatever. It is definitely different, and it is not normal. That I'm not claiming Jake's got a patent on it. So simmer down. We hear you. Yes, I understand. It's
different
around
from what we've seen on the tour. I personally, I think, first saw it back in the late 90s with Climo, or maybe it was early 2000s. When was the Augusta Worlds?
2006.
And Climo won that one.
He did.
So it was probably, I remember seeing it in person there from Climo, but I'd seen it one or two other times before that from other people just messing around. But that was the first time I saw it used in a tournament. And he had tossed that up, and I think he had it wrapped up at that point in the finals as we were watching the final 9 at Worlds. But yeah, the
Glenn Whitlock and others.
Yeah, the horseshoe putt, the dad putt, whatever you want to call it. It's been around for a long time. But Jake is Jake's going to put his own stamp on it.
He is, because he is the current. You know, just like Kevin Jones nor Eagle created the grenade. That was a shot Johnny and I saw. Or executed before maybe even Eagle was born. So
probably
we get it.
We're old.
But when they bring it to the forefront, that's clearly when it then gets discussed. And keeping in mind, so many of our viewers and or the players these days weren't around back in the day when those may have been performed by people that you may not have even, names you may not even recognize. So I get it. I just inevitably there's the shaking of the old man fist when somebody, states that something like that is unique or is coming onto the scene and is in the spotlight. We understand. I at least understand. Anyway, it was pretty incredible performance by a lot of those gentlemen. Clearly, I think we've now said it a number of times. The wind and what it did to the putting and or just the overall
courses
mentality in how to approach the courses, certainly made things much more unique for the weekend than what you would predict. I mean, and I would have even asked him of it, and I don't even need to. Ricky Wysocki would never guess in a normal event in normal conditions, or even remotely normal conditions, that someone like Paul McBeth is missing the cut, just as Paul would never expect Ricky to miss the cut. Was that 100% wind aided? I mean, clearly I'll say, I think he even sent me a message at one point saying, I had a game plan. I was too stubborn to change it, and it was kind of an all or nothing approach. And when it was all said and done, That wasn't the right game plan. That's something I need to, take into consideration. So, it was very interesting.
And then you're there on Sunday throwing shade at Paul McBeth for being in the crowd.
He was wearing shades, I think.
He was wearing shades.
No,
I'm just kidding. You made a friendly little joke about being
you can't say it enough. I mean, whether I'm friends with him and Ricky, of which I am, friends, commentator, analyst, any or all of those things, podcaster. At the end of the day, it is a story that Paul McBeth missed a cut.
He missed.
Of course, it's not one that he loves to see written or told, but it still was a story. And I think I saw in Dixon's group someone said, "Is blank or Paul missing the cut a bigger story? And it's like, no, there is no bigger story. Ricky wins, Kristen Tatar wins, and then Paul missing the cut. Those like
arguably, Paul mixing the cut might be even a bigger story.
It's way more of a surprise than Ricky winning or Tatar winning.
Yeah,
That's
because
true.
those two win regularly.
Exactly. So the other story that we'll just quickly dance around. I think we're gonna have one disc, one tip tonight, John.
We do have
good.
one disc, one tip.
One other quick story
With
that we'll
Andrew
dance
Marweed.
around is there was I hate to use the word outbreak. There were some cases of COVID that became part of the conversation this weekend. If you want to read all the official legalese and the way it was described and broken down, it's all on dgpt.com. It's out there. I think it's also very public as to who the players were that were involved or not. From that perspective, I don't think there. I'll say there's no HIPAA considerations on my behalf.
No, I think it was the story kind of started, quote unquote, with Tristan Tanner.
Yeah,
he withdrew because he had these what he called body aches. Went to the ER because he wasn't sure. Was diagnosed with COVID, which is a very common side effect of COVID, which is the body, the joints, the aching, the exhaust. Being fully exhausted. At this point, it feels like everybody's had it at some point almost. It's just a matter of how severe you get it, and it affected him and his play, and from there. The DGPT did their contact tracing as by their protocol and performed over 50 tests, I believe. Mm-hmm. And there were a few players that turned up positive. And I'm not going to lie, I think any given week, you test the whole field, you might find one or two positives that you just don't realize from people who are asymptomatic. But this particular weekend, we had people who were not asymptomatic. They were symptomatic. And it showed, and so we had to go through with the protocol. And this isn't a platform about whether or not how you feel about COVID. These are just the rules.
Yeah.
These are what we do to make sure that the players feel and are safe. So it started with Matty O. I think we saw Kona and Colton. And I think there maybe was one more, and I forget offhand. But ultimately, the DGPT did exactly what they should based on their own protocol, and we saw some players that had to withdraw.
Yeah, it was, of course, it's unfortunate for everyone. And naturally, even I myself, who was feeling very allergy-like and allergy reacting and traveling and everything else I had been doing, I was a little hoarse in the booth.
And Doss both. Doss at that final day, man, it sounded like that's a lot of talking you guys do.
Exactly. We did 3 consecutive days of coverage at Jonesboro where I'm up at an early time that I'm not normally up at, talking disc golf at 6 a.m. for roughly an 8 to 10 hour day, doing 3 days of that at Jonesboro, 2 or 3 days later being at DDO, and then the interactions at DDO plus 4 straight days for me going men and women, and it had all essentially caught up with me, and I had to ride the damn bull happy. No, so it was all of those things, late nights, early mornings, and I didn't owe it to anyone, but when I got home, just as an extra precaution, I took a test myself, and it was in fact negative. So, but nonetheless,
so we can
knock
kiss
on
later.
wood.
We can kiss later. And
Nope,
it's fine.
knock on wood. I've been very blessed. I had a quick conversation with even Katrina Allen, because she had asked. She's like, you sound sick in the booth, and is there any way you have it? I said no. Somehow I might be one of the most traveled disc golfers since COVID, in terms of going to all the events, car, planes, you name it, and then extra events that aren't on the tour. I'm probably one of the single most traveled people, and I've just been incredibly fortunate that I have not ever had it tested positive or had it. So good luck to me.
Yeah, good luck to you. Exactly. I kind of feel like at this point you've probably had it and just don't know. At some point, came and went, but
Maybe.
obviously without getting antibody tests and weird things like that, I'm glad that you have not had any sort of symptoms. It just feels like at this point, if you've had any sort of interaction with a majority of people with as contagious as it has become, that it's almost feels inevitable that people get it. But
yeah. Anyway,
but I'm glad.
Moving on, that was, again, another part of the story. And as Ricky and many of us, have alluded to, World's expectations at the end of August would be that in the 80s or 90s, possibly triple digits, but generally 80s and 90s, humidity, of course, will be a little bit higher and the winds to be much lower. So those are generic late August, early September, weather patterns there. When we were there in 2016, when Ricky had won along with Valerie Jenkins, it was a few weeks earlier in August, and it was consistent, like 90, 95, 100. It was in that neighborhood with high humidities. I'm not going to lie, it was miserable for an overweight fella like myself. Not pleasant walking around out there.
Do you want me to go and walk
those
around?
Temperatures? You can, sure.
You can do all the switching?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'll do that.
I don't care what we're seeing. Oh, we're going to sit on this shot for a half hour. You guys wanted to see the drone all day? You got it. Till the battery dies.
Hey, Terry, we have to take the drone down. All right, have fun.
Yeah, let me know how that goes. So the temps and everything else will be, at one point I said, it may be literally twice as hot. It was 50 degrees. I'm like, it might be literally twice the temperature out here. So nonetheless, looking forward to it. And this will be the second latest that you and I have ever seen a World Championships
Correct.
played.
Short of Green Mountain, I believe, right?
Yeah, which was only about a week later.
Which was a week or two later.
Back in 2018. This is the second latest you and I in the last 25 plus years have seen a World Championships played this late in the season, although the temps may not lead you to think that. So anyway, it'll be interesting. All right, Johnny, I mean, I think we covered I feel like we've covered pretty much everything. Shout out to all the top performers. There's no doubt that one of the additional storylines, and inevitably it always comes up no matter who it is, but some people thought that I wasn't somehow praising and giving enough accolades when someone like Brodie Smith was performing well on the final day, and I guess the final day is when it was said. Check the tapes. I mean, I make a joke here and there about damn near anyone, anytime during a broadcast or after the fact even. But I have no problem if anyone thinks like it's just kind of that age-old argument of you assume you like someone or you don't, and their commentary shows it. I've talked with Nate Doss about this extensively, and I've said it's so funny, Nate, because some people will be just screaming about how you can't love on Paul Macbeth enough, and then literally the next day or a few hours later or the next tournament, people just think you hate his guts and you're just a jealous, a-hole teammate of his, and that you can't ever give him his due props. I said it's funny to me, and then I think of it as or option 3 is we're just calling it like we see it in the moment and toss all your favoritism aside. Is that possible?
Well, anything's possible. I think people were frustrated, maybe upset that you called out Brodie for being slow.
Yeah, which
I mean, he was.
I'm equal opportunity, man. Get Gannon up there, get Nico up there,
and that's exactly. Those are the exact same people I said. I'm like, you know what? Terry calls it like you see it. We all said it. The silly thing about you and I is I made the joke about 10 minutes before you did in the control room. I made the joke. I'm like, Jesus, Brodie, are you doing a podcast with your caddy every hole? And then you made kind of a similar joke.
Oh, which is funny because I obviously didn't hear you say that.
No, you didn't, because you don't hear me in the
anymore,
booth.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. You hear Mo only. And then you had said the same thing, and I literally told Nick, I'm like, he stole my joke, that son of a but no, Brodie treated, and we saw this with Emily Beach as well, treated their caddy like almost like a PGA person treats their caddy. They had discussions about lots of different shots and things. And I have no problem with that as long as you're staying within the 30 seconds. And let me be straight about this. Brodie wasn't the only one. There were times that I saw players run up the fairway over a blind shot when it was their turn. And that's all on your 30 seconds, like it or not. You have to do that. And so there were other players that went over. It's just that Brody kind of did it consistently. And, you know, we gave him a shout out. He played very well, but there are things that you have to, as a thing, you know, as everyone kind of says, your particular shtick when you're in the booth is still Burr, or still Brody, or still Nico, because they have taken longer than the allotted time. Brody was over some, he was close some, he was under some, but he was a particular player that was lagging at times.
Yeah, and
he's not the only one. And
Clearly.
Again, very windy conditions. I don't know if that mattered so much, but you still have to get your time in. So again, and if people are offended at that you particularly are calling any particular player out for their time, whether it would have been Ricky or Jake or Logan or Brody, it's just, you know, that's life. And I think people, and I follow a lot of disc golf online. I was in the foundation chat afterwards, and everybody was kind of like, yeah, I mean, Brody was slow. They knew it, and they're part of the community. So yeah, I don't feel like it was any surprise, particularly at any person.
Yeah, the next event where somebody is habitually or regularly slow, I'll probably say something similar.
More than likely.
If it becomes glaringly obvious to me and apparent. That's it. I just like I posted on I posted on his wall. It's very impressive. Obviously, what he's come along and done in the last couple of years.
Can deny it.
And you know, so yeah, I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. It's almost silly. I have to explain it, but I guess I choose to here. So anyway.
Do we want to watch the one disc, one tip before we go over to the after show, Terry?
I think we do, folks, because our friends over at Ace Run Productions put this little segment together from time to time for us, and we love the cross promotion. They're doing a great work.
Such great work.
Continuing to grow and expand and improve on all their post-production work that they're doing, and then they have this, like I said, this amazing little segment that they always put together with various pros. And we are happy to put it out there. And then that is just a little tease to get you to go out and find more action from our friends over at Ace Run Production. So we appreciate them. So, yeah, I think we're ready to close things out. We'll do so by showing that. And then do you want to go right to...
We'll go right to the after show. And from there, we'll come back and we'll do a Patreon giveaway. We'll talk all sorts of stuff.
All right, folks. We can talk all about... Yeah, you guys are setting me up in there. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Again, one disc, one tip. That's coming from Ace Run Productions. We got to thank Ricky Wysocki for joining us tonight. It was incredible. We appreciate him and the rest of his crew taking out the time to find us over here on Smashbox to share all the insights with you guys. Congratulations, of course, to Kristen Tatar, who I believe is en route or about to be en route back to Estonia, along with the dozen other Estonians that I hung out with at the Bourbon Cowboy. We hope they all travel safely, and looking forward to seeing more of them in the future. So for Johnny V and myself, this has been Smashbox Podcast 401. We're going to close it out with one disc, one tip with Ace Run Productions. We'll see you in a few minutes in the after show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are back with another one disc, one tip segment. Today we've got Andrew Marwee joining us today. All right, Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this segment with us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Enjoying your time out here at WR Jackson?
For sure, I love this course.
Awesome. So you've been at it for a while now, but how long have you actually been playing the sport of disc golf?
I started in 2014, so that'd be 8 years now.
What kind of got you into the sport?
It was mostly right after high school, just playing with some buddies for fun. Like, obviously it wasn't any good, but it was fun, and then stuck with it, and then here I am. So,
thinking about the plastic that's in your bag, if you had one disc that you can pull from there that you think can help anybody's game, what disc would that be?
Well, for me, the game changer has been the DGA Stone Steady BL. It's a very stiff plastic, beadless putter. It has tons of glide, so it's a very neutral flying putter, also a neutral putting putter. So for me, it's been huge for my approach game, and especially my putting, as putting is one of the strongest suits in my game. So
We've seen you banging many big putts on coverage quite a bit, so Steady BL, check out the link below. We'll have a link where you can get your hands on that guy. Kind of going back to that experience, if you can share or shed light on one tip that you think can help anybody's game, what tip would that be?
Well, going back to the Steady BL, I think my biggest tip is confidence. Confidence is key, especially for putting. If you know you're going to miss, you will miss. So my biggest tip is going up to your putt, you want to, tell yourself, I'm going to make this putt, because you will. And then going hand in hand with that is how to make their putt, and how to be confident is all about follow through. I'm a big basketball guy myself, so just like shooting a free throw, you want to hold your hand, follow through. Same with putting. So if you're a spin putter, if you're a push putter, you just want to extend your arm and hold it until it goes in the basket, and that ensures you have that clean release and you're following through and not letting yourself fall out early. So
That's one thing we've heard a lot from Johnny McRae, and you're the second pro to kind of talk about that follow through being so important. So
for sure, you want to make sure your hand is in line with the basket, and you're holding it there to ensure that your release and putt is smooth to the basket.
there you go, guys. Practice, 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 and practice that follow through. A big thank you to Andrew Marweed. Andrew, if these guys want to follow along with you on your social media, where can they do that?
Facebook obviously is the big one. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, got all of them. So give me a follow, and appreciate all love and support.
Sweet. Well, there you go. Thank you so much to Andrew Marweed again for taking the time out to do this segment. Thank you, as always, Smashbox, for airing these segments, and from us at Ace From Productions, let's run it.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 401's After Show. It's the After Show. What happens in the After Show, Johnny? Hit him with it now that we're on 401.
Oh, well, I mean, if you've never tuned in the previous 400 episodes,
Good on you.
First of all, you've got a lot of backlog. I would start probably at episode 6, then go to 2, then 4, then 1, then 3, then 7, and move from there. Trust me. Just do it. Anyway, After Show is where we talk about things that are sometimes disc golf related. Sometimes we talk about other things, such as maybe what we're watching, maybe a movie we went to, some weird person you picked up in your car for no reason, Terry. There's a lot of things that we talk about in the After Show. It's a little more relaxed. We can sometimes we have a guest that just shows up. Sometimes we don't. We have nothing planned for tonight. But
yeah, and funny you say that. Something weird I pick up in my car.
And I just think, because it was a few years ago at the DDO where you were just randomly picked up somebody that happened to be from, I believe, another country and drove them back to their hotel room because you saw them walking along the road.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I want to say the year might have been it was either 2018 or 2019, probably 2018. I could probably figure this out, but I think it was 2018, and yeah, it doesn't matter. And I was on my way home as the night was winding down from the festivities out in downtown Emporia. And there was a gentleman who was a golfer, but was clearly struggling with walking. And it's a couple of miles from downtown out to where a good majority of the hotels are. And I saw this gentleman struggling to keep it on the straight and narrow. And I knew it was a golfer, and I just knew, hey, so after I went by him one way, I backtracked. I actually turned around, pulled up next to him and said, hey man, do you need a ride? Just get in. I'll give you a ride. So he jumps in. He's going to the same area of hotels that I was. So I get over there. I end up dropping him off. And as I'm dropping him off, I end up having a introduction to a couple different people, one of which happens to be running the Toonie, one of the truly, as they dubbed it, the Dynamic Disc Open of Finland. And we started having conversation about it, went back and forth. Long story short, he said, hey, we need to get you here. We'd like to have you doing some filming in Finland for this event. And all I keep thinking about is what a random set of circumstances. The fact that I offered this gentleman a ride, went to this particular hotel, other people were still hanging out. I'm going to call it after 2:30 a.m. It was late in the evening or early in the morning, depending how you look at things. And it was just all serendipitous, I think is the word. And next thing you know, I'm going to the Toonie with a good friend of mine and Johnny Rumble, having an amazing time meeting then hundreds of other new people, and certainly a bucket list trip and adventure that I didn't even know was on the bucket list. But once I was there, it was incredible. So yeah, it's certainly one of my many memorable moments that took place there at the Dynamic Disc Open a few years ago, when it was still then called the GBO. Oh, David John's on the board saying, Terry gave me a ride home from Mecklenburg Brewery in Charlotte for the AM Worlds a few years ago. That was right. I did that as well.
Terry just likes to give random people rides around.
If a golfer needs to get somewhere and I happen to be going somewhere, I'm not opposed to doing that.
If the situation arises, of course, that's only the nice and polite and communal thing we can do.
There was a few times a few weeks ago at the Champions Cup, I was parked up in the front where the media and staff were able to park, which I appreciate. Any event that recognizes and then helps out media. I know Ace Run, you hear that as well. You usually have a lot of expensive equipment that you're carrying and or want to keep near. So having media parking is now a necessity. I'll just say it. And so in parking there was a number of times you'd see players that had to then get out to wherever the overflow parking was and the spectator parking was. And often I would, as I was driving, I'm like, oh man, these people either have to wait for a shuttle or whatever. So I like to offer up. I did that last year actually at Maple Hill, and it was more significant there. This gentleman had parked at whatever the parking area was, and it was like more than a mile. It was a couple miles to walk there, and I think they were running a shuttle, but he had missed it or something. So I was like, you're gonna have a long enough day walking around this course. I'm more than happy to help out. So yeah, I got candy plastic. Get in the van. That's usually what I go with.
It's a little creepy. I personally wouldn't make that move, but
you would. If I had a CE Firebird or a CE Valkyrie, I don't know.
Maybe a CE T-Bird.
There you go. Anyway, wow, congratulations, David. He says, Terry, I got married in Thailand last Sunday. Congratulations to you, David John. Hope you're doing well. You're probably out on some island right now, taking this all in out in Thailand. Love to see it.
That's awesome. Terry Miller. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. You would love the TV show Severance.
Ooh, interesting.
It's on. I know.
Do tell.
It's on Apple TV, so I know that's going to be a little bit difficult. But I think your daughters have an Apple device.
Okay.
But it is. We just finished up with the first season. There's only one season so far. It is great.
So
and it's something you would love.
And when you say season, are we talking 12 or 13 or 18, 10?
10
okay.
episodes, I believe.
And are we talking
1 hour?
48 minutes or so? Or like
48 to 50, whatever, 50, whatever, yeah. You'd like Severance.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff I watch that you absolutely would hate. Like I'm going to go at some point see Doctor Strange 2, not something you're going to enjoy.
Yep,
Severance, you will enjoy.
All right.
Make it a point to find a way to watch it, because I think it's worth it for you.
All right. Yeah, I need to make a pretty detailed list. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to consume. So that's one that I can add to the list, as you're saying.
Go for it.
Okay. Sorry. Ray, also in the after show. Again, if you're new here, we love kind of keep an eye on the chat boards. YouTube chat is the easiest, but whatever. However you want to interact. If you have something you want to ask specifically, you want us to expand upon, or maybe dig into, or you're just spitballing with stuff, feel free to shoot it to us in the chat. That will also help drive what we see and hear and do in the after show. And Ray had said, Brian Earhart, which apparently I've been pronouncing wrong for years and no one ever told me.
Yeah, because you kept calling him Earhart.
Correct. Brian Earhart was great on the course this weekend, especially after the wind got balanced out and we could hear him. Certainly.
Yeah, that was the difficult part, was trying. First, he had a lav mic, which are the little ones that you clip on your chest, and that was getting blown out. And then we moved to I believe he had a shotgun mic, because that's what they had available, something with because they didn't have anything great to cover up a stick mic, so they went with a shotgun mic, which did not work any better, even though they had it covered up. So that was awful. And then finally on that final day, there was something, the wind was down, so we could actually talk with Brian.
Yeah, so it was great. I'll say that me having some experience being in the field and walking around the course throughout a few of the events, such as Champions Cup and all the other ones I've done that at, I feel like it makes it a little bit easier for me to know and recognize what our course correspondents are then likely capable of, and incorporating them as much as I can. I feel like that's very much a two-way street. It just become very apparent to me. I know, again, I typically know where they could or should be standing in theory, just in relation to that overall job. And then I just constantly want to challenge myself about thinking, hey, how can we have this person who's out in the field give us the insight as if they're there, which they are, but give us these particular insights that we aren't postulating or guessing on, or in the dark about, whatever the case might be. So that's kind of how it all plays out. And then to be fair though, there's also a really specific dance. And what I mean by that is there might be the
like
fourth
a foxtrot.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Charleston.
The fourth person, for instance, let's say Ricky Wysocki threw fourth, and he throws a particular shot, and there's something I notice in it, whether it's where it lands or if it's stuck in something or not, or whatever the case might be. He throws a shot. Our producer, who is usually Mo may in his mind is already thinking, hey, wait, we want to show a replay of the person that threw first, or the second the fourth guy is teed off here on hole 7, we're actually going to show you this incredible putt of somebody that's playing up ahead on hole 9. And so by me calling out Brian in this instance, me saying, hey, Brian, what happened with that disc after it hit the ground, with relation to what Ricky just did, that actually throws Mo, I'm not going to say into a tizzy, but it understandably throws him off, because he in his head was already planning to go to a replay or planning to go to a whatever. And so this is all part of the dance that we're all working and striving to improve, is having some of these cues and or capabilities of doing such. So that's there's no better way. It's a dance. It's a constant dance, and trying not to step on other people's toes. And so, but also knowing where Brian might be, and if Brian can adequately answer the question, I want to set him up for success every single time I go to him. And really to spill some of the sauce or secret, Brian may have something that's incredibly insightful that he may text to me that I may or may not see immediately. Rather than me just sharing, which I do sometimes, rather than me sharing it, depending on kind of the context and with what it's in regard to, I may essentially turn that phrase or that insight into a question so that Brian then can elaborate or discuss exactly what he had originally texted me about. And I think it's just this constant dance of being able to do that we're always working on. That's just the part of the job. I feel very similar to how when I've been working with Nate Perkins, I feel like that's all part of the overall process. And all I can say is, sometimes we're dealing with technology. Sometimes we're dealing with signal, which is part of technology. Sometimes we're just dealing with proximity. If you're in a bad spot and somebody's asked me 4 times, hey, is that out of bounds? And I happen to be on the wrong side of the fairway every time, I may not have that answer. But those are all the types of things, again, we continue to deal and work through. And it's becoming more and more fun as we continue to do it. So that's some of the behind the scenes, and it's been a long process. It really has. And I know there's been some frustration in the control room, and there's frustration on the ground when I've been on the ground and or in the booth. It's all a matter of getting these kind of final kinks worked out. So it's been pretty crazy.
Our resident mild troll, Disc Blaster, has a valid question. Is Elaine done commentating? Says it would take some serious balls to come back. My understanding, and I have not heard anything different, is that she will be back. I think she's scheduled for at least 1, maybe 2 more events. Now, I haven't been on many of the conversations. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. But she is still, I believe, on the schedule. Terry can verify that, probably.
Yeah, the schedule hasn't changed. I had a brief conversation earlier with Jeff as we were closing out.
Rightfully be back.
Some other conversations with regard to the, this last weekend. And we were just looking ahead, literally just looking ahead at the schedule. Who's going to be where, who's doing what, those types of things. And Elaine, as our FPO color commentator, I was trying to think of the exact phrasing, as our FPO color commentator, she is absolutely on the schedule, and anything she was scheduled for, she's still scheduled for. There's been no changes in that capacity. Exactly what those events are, I look ahead and I see her listed, for example, at Portland Open. That's one where I see her on the list. So there's going to be other ones, I'm sure. Whatever she was on the schedule for, she's still going to be on the schedule. Unless something at this point changes, which would be news to me, but otherwise, no, there has not been a change.
No, and I stand behind Elaine and think that she should be back. I have no reason or qualms behind it. I think we had that discussion with Elaine on the broadcast, and I think that mistakes will be made, and and we move on and we get better and we improve.
Yeah, that's what we can say to that. So. And for what it's worth, some of all of those decisions in particular, maybe even with regard to myself, we're not making those decisions. God, no. Those are made well above us. And those calls are not within our pay grade.
Mm-hmm. No.
So
we're just literally looking at a spreadsheet that has a schedule on it. So
yeah.
But no, and she's on that spreadsheet.
Exactly. Okay. Trying to read if there's anything else. Barry is back, and I think you're talking about Barry the show, which I did.
I have not gotten into that one yet. I'm
ever
waiting. Not yet.
Yeah, I saw a couple of the first few episodes, and I really, really did.
This is the final season, maybe.
I couldn't speak more. I saw like the first 2 episodes, and that's all I've ever seen. But I would have no problem getting back into it. It was pretty good what I did see.
Yeah. So if I'll have to look, and if this is the final season, then I will go back, because I think it's on HBO Max. I'll go back and watch those. I need something to watch without my wife, just as a time filler. Not that she wouldn't like it, but we've got plenty of together shows, and she watches, I think, Bridgerton, Thankfully Without Me, some show called Call the Midwife, which is like some show based out of, I think, the 40s in Britain about midwives. I don't know. Anyway, shows that I have no interest in watching. I'm always looking for a different show to watch. So maybe I'll watch Barry.
All right. I think this is the right time to plug my tournament. No, in a couple weeks, I'm hosting the Skyline Classic. That's going to be the same weekend as the OTB Open. I do not have a part in the OTB Open, and after lots of different scheduling configurations and looks and options or non-options and planning or lack of planning and everything and beyond, I'm going to be hosting the Skyline Classic. I think I talked about that briefly with Ricky earlier, but it is a B tier here in Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin. We've got 2 great courses, and the regular registration is opening tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. Well, depending on what day you're listening to this, opening at 7 p.m. Central on May 4th is when it has opened. And it's going to ultimately has a max capacity of 288 players. I've got 2 courses, so you'll play one on Saturday morning, and then you'd play the other one on Saturday afternoon, and then your tournament's done. All the other divisions are then on the opposite day, so on and so forth. So that's taking place, and if people want to pre-reg for it right now, there's some sponsorship options to do so as we speak. But yes, that is the Skyline Classic taking place in just a couple weeks here in Wisconsin. Good plug for that. Great. I've never even plugged. I want to quickly just say, we're working on it in more depth and detail, but I've kind of quietly, I haven't done any of the work, actually. They've done it all work. Nick and Juliana have. I have a website where people can buy stuff.
What?
Yeah. And it's been up for a few weeks. I clearly have promoted it very well, but if anyone goes out to shop.thediscgolfguy.com, it's a website. You can actually buy stuff like a real shopping cart.
Website?
Yeah, it's an actual website with a shopping cart and some products on it. It's not flashy or fancy at the moment. It's got hundreds, maybe thousands of discs now. Pictures of the actual disc. It's all out there. It's funny that I never talk about it. Clearly, I'm not doing so hot on that. I should probably give it a try, but it's going to continue to get filled with tons of goodies, and yeah, I just want to say that it's out there and it's available. Some people ask, how can we support what's going on? That's one way in which you could do so if you wish.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you'd like to support me, go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
That's right.
That's the
Let's
best.
give something away, in fact, Johnny.
What? SmashBoxxTV's Patreon supporters get a weekly chance at a giveaway?
Yes.
Gosh, all of them? Anyone who donates at least $1, which is like the minimum you can donate a month, they get a chance at a prize. We have 179 people this week that are going to get a chance at a prize. Is that what I'm hearing, Terry?
That sounds amazing. And they might even get it sent to them soon, now that I'm home for a few weeks, playing a little catch-up on, and mustard, on the weekly giveaway drawings. So appreciate you guys. If your name's been called, let's double check that I've got your address. And second of all, thank you for being patient if you've got something on the way.
So we have 179 people eligible for our Patreon giveaway. Terry Miller, what number should we pick? I have sorted it by email address backwards, Z to A.
Oh, so Xylophone Killa should be on the top of the list.
Yes, if that were an email, yes.
at myspace.com. All right. Let's go with I like 2.
You're always a 2-man.
I do. I like the 2s.
All right, so our first number is 47. Our second number, higher or lower than 47, Terry?
Higher.
Higher. That's a good guess.
I mean, that's just numbers, right?
Our second number is 163. 163. I need to minimize this page now. 163. We're going way towards the bottom. Ben Jackson, whose email starts with a B. Ben Jackson, congratulations. You are our Patreon supporter giveaway for tonight. So thank you. We will find something.
We will.
Terry's got something.
I've got some goodies showing up. I'm making another just today. Spoke to the to the fine fellas over there at Double G Jerky. I've got more jerky on order. I've got some other goodies that are all getting ordered, some for the tournament, some for additional giveaways. So just know there's some goodies that are all going to be here and start getting shipped out to you guys. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Carney says has put it perfectly. We just need that little disclaimer for every weekly giveaway. We'll go with please allow 1 to 52 weeks for shipping.
Sometimes
I don't need 54, 52. That's 1 year, right?
We're usually pretty good.
1 to 52 weeks. No, we appreciate it. Thank you to all of the supporters out there, and looking forward to getting some of your free goodies out there for you guys.
Ray Zerhausen asks, Terry Miller, what do you think of the Packers draft?
Oh my gosh.
Huh?
Well, here's what I saw of it.
Okay, yes. Tell me, give me your informed opinion on the Packers draft.
I saw none of it.
Okay.
But I did see, as a side note, I saw that they closed part of the Vegas Strip in Vegas, and now they're considering making that a permanent thing to close like the actual Vegas Strip in a certain section of it to make it more accessible for people to walk around more safely out there, which I feel like ruins like driving down the Vegas Strip. Yeah. But driving down the Vegas Strip is nowhere near as fun as walking it in the first place. So I'm torn on this because I
the draft,
do love
they
did it for the draft, and now it was considered or proposed that, hey, could we permanently do this? I just feel like when you have an iconic street like that and it's that long, it's the whole Vegas Strip. So to be like, oh, hey, well, for this like 3-block section,
they're going to close the entire Vegas Strip for the F1 race.
Okay.
Later on this year.
Are they racing on it?
I believe so. Maybe it's next year, but fairly certain it's maybe it's next year. But yeah, the entire strip that they'll be.
Anyway, so that I know more about the Vegas
Strip
Strip closing due to the draft than I know about who was drafted for the team here in Wisconsin.
And they are racing on it, by the way.
Okay.
So
I still don't know anything about F1, but that's another story. There's a lot of things
I don't know anything about F1. I just thought it was like, wow, you're closing the Vegas Strip. The Packers draft. I mean, we got wide receivers in the second round, so I was pretty happy with that. A deep threat, sounds like. I don't know much about college football, so these guys, most of the time I look at them, I go, I don't know. I got a couple defensive players in the first round, and that's about as much as I paid attention, to be honest. So I'm relatively happy with the draft. Packers have had some really good luck in the past with second-round wide receivers. Jordy Nelson, I believe. I think Devontae Adams was one. There was one other second-round wide receiver that we had drafted in the past that was really, really, really good for us.
Donald Driver.
I don't think Donald Driver was a second round.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out.
But anyway, yeah. So I mean, as much as I can say about it, I'm okay with it. We got wide receivers, and that's what we're looking for. So,
okay. Was there any little grander scale? Was there any significant, massive shakeups or surprises or gets that were?
There were a lot of trades, more so I feel like than in past years. We saw it felt like every wide receiver was changing teams at some point. AJ Brown, who was a Titan for a long time, got traded to Philadelphia, and Marquise Brown, they call Hollywood. He got traded over to Arizona, and these are like really good wide receivers. So there was a little bit of shakeup there, but yeah, I mean, stuff that you'll figure out when you start your fantasy team later this year, Terry.
I can't wait to get into that. Kind of along the line of numbers, we'll say, PDJ made a little announcement yesterday saying that the 1,500 disc had been approved. Today marks a milestone of the 1,500th PDJ. That's not as easy to say as you'd think. PDJ approved disc. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. What did they tell you? What disc it was?
No, I don't know. I'd have to click more.
1,500 approved discs, and I looked and I saw a handful of discs, and there was a Discmania disc that was approved yesterday. Some disc called the Douglas Fir.
Sounds like something I could get into.
Sounds like a tree you could get into, Terry. And there was like one other one, but yeah, there's a lot of discs that are being approved these days. Terry Miller.
Okay. I totally lost my train of thought. What else I was just going to say about not so much PDGA. Come on, people. What was I thinking about? Challenge at Goat Hill is going on this weekend. Best of luck to you, Alan and crew. Drucifer asks, has PDGA ever denied a disc approval? Absolutely. My layman's explanation would be that you have a disc, you send it to the PDGA, there's all sorts of very specific guidelines that it has to fall within, meaning it can be a certain weight depending on the diameter of the disc, leading edges, the overall flexibility of the disc. There's all these, it's all listed. I can't spew them all off the top of my head under the standards, but there's standards and specifications. It can only be of a certain degree of sharpness. Lots of these, the leading wing, the wing, and blah blah blah. All sorts of very scientific things that I certainly don't. I don't want to say I don't care about, but I would never further investigate or have anything to do with personally. Of all things in disc golf, making a disc will likely go down as one of the few things in disc golf I will absolutely never touch in any capacity. I just don't have the scientific interest and or background to it. But yes, there have absolutely been discs, and in fact, there's been some unique discs that have been approved and then not approved and then approved again. That's a whole nother, that could be a whole podcast in its own. But yeah, if they don't meet certain guidelines and restrictions and specifications, it could be denied, and then maybe people sometimes will come back with an adjustment to it and so on. But yeah, I mean, there's reasons why we have these specs, and if something falls outside of that, then they should not be approved. And yeah, so that's all. Jeff Homburg had to draw for it out in Arizona. He, in fact, I think he's one of the lead or the lead on the technical standards committee in terms of baskets getting sent to him along with discs getting sent to him. And he does, he goes through all the different tests and measurements and everything of that nature. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Does DD mow the grass at Country Club themselves, or do they rely on the city? It would
for Country Club, you would rely on the actual Country Club,
presumably.
Yes,
or it might be a DD staff member, but probably the Country Club themselves. I saw that as one of the.
Well, maybe for DDO, it would be a DD member for some of the areas that are off of the fairway, but in general, I would assume that would go to the Country Club. And then maybe similar for Jones, you would rely on the city for the most part, unless it was something unique that you wanted. You could probably, knowing dynamic with their relationship with the city of Emporia, I'm guessing that they could go out there and request something, or maybe do it themselves.
Oh, we should have a segment after every week. This would be led by you guys. We should have a segment every week.
Mow it?
What was the dumbest shit Terry said on the broadcast, or most inaccurate?
Oh, that would be tough.
I know you guys don't have all day, but no, seriously, like I would totally own that in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Because there's naturally things either I accidentally say, then there's occasionally things I never screw up on purpose, clearly. But here's one minor example. And you could argue it if you want to get into, some semantics maybe. But at one point I was referencing Simon. And I don't believe I didn't get blown up for this. I was referencing Simon, and I said something about, and he became a dad 8 months ago. His child is like either 8 or 12 weeks. I was gonna
say I was gonna say 2 to 3 months old, right?
But I think 8 weeks.
So you said 8 months instead of 8 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So that's just.
But then one could argue, well, when do you really become a dad?
No. No.
Not today.
Today is the worst day to talk about that conversation.
I'm not going to go there. But my point is, I thought the chat was going to blow me up. Not one person said anything.
Yeah, well, maybe everyone just realized, oh, Terry had a slip of the.
Or they didn't realize
Or they
it
didn't
themselves,
catch it.
or they didn't care enough to actually to say anything about it. Anyway, so there's one example. That, in my opinion, is pretty minor.
Ray says he's going to sit with a notebook
Please do.
next time. In fact, start a blog.
Yes, terrysfups.com. No, I don't expect that much effort into it.
Yeah, Ryan Pilcher, he's on it.
Yeah, thanks, guy. Yeah, now I'll know who my friends really are, right? Like, well, I've got this list. It's 77 items deep.
I've got a list.
I just think I would totally own it. I don't know. Do you put accidental call outs and names in there too?
No.
Like when I almost closed the show calling it the Jonesboro Open?
One
of the days?
You did.
Yeah.
Not almost. You did. Yeah, actually, I think you said JBO, but
No, I said Jonesboro.
Did you say
I
Jonesboro?
specifically said Jonesboro.
Oh.
Having no idea how that got into my brain.
yeah, no, you definitely did that because I
corrected and said Dynamic Disc Open, but I did say the word Jonesboro.
Yeah.
Does that count?
There's a difference between yeah, that would be a mistake, Terry.
All right. Did you appreciate at least the walk-up song if Thomas Gilbert when he was laying up and he was jump putting on the tee
Sure.
of one and then jump putted onto the green and I said it should be Jump Jump by Criss Cross?
Correct. Yes.
Or Jump Around maybe by House of Pain?
Yes. And then we all got a little excited. Well, maybe not all of us, I guess me, when Ella had Genesis and she got it put into the middle of the song.
Yes, that was definitely a pro level move, and shout out to those guys. Do we lose? This remains maybe a question or not. Does our Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube channel lose all monetization for all 4 of those or all 8 of those rounds due to walk-up songs? I would have to assume so, right?
Just the YouTube ones. The DGN is a private one that's not
Yeah,
monetized.
no,
it would just be the final round, the final day, the 2 YouTube ones. My guess, and I could go look.
Final day. They had walk-up songs all day, didn't they?
I know, but the final day is on YouTube.
Oh yeah, good call.
The other ones are on DGN.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
So, yes, and we'll have a bigger conversation about this maybe offline.
Okay.
But yes, there was some discussion about that and what the correct procedure is for how we want to do that. But my guess is if I looked, not only could the DGPT get a copyright strike, which there are, whatever, those 2 rounds are probably demonetized, causing probably at minimum a few $100s in advertising for YouTube advertising, maybe up to 1,000 a round for the DGPT. So literally just because of those walk-up songs, and you and I dealt with this with Smashbox as well. We got dinged and they demonetized those videos because of the music that's playing in the background. And it's not just the walk-up songs. I mean, when we're on the second card and we cut to the lead card or the feature card, whatever you want to call it, depending on the day, standing by hole 1 waiting to tee, they're blaring music in the background. Mm-hmm. And that is all copyright music. It's not they don't look for the royalty free music to play there. They get the crowd pumped. So yeah, I mean I think that's just one of those expenses you just have to kind of write off for DDO.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure how much of a concern that it really is in the big picture, but it is something that if you're a YouTuber like myself, like Ace Run Productions, and the people that do have some monetization on YouTube, when there are things, and I guess that's what we should maybe even explain, is when you have music like that is distinctly heard and then picked up by the YouTube magic machines, that specifically will then alert YouTube, or YouTube alerts you and says, hey, you can't have other people's music playing, and therefore you're not able to run ads or have monetization on your video. So that's what we're kind of explaining here. So
somebody asked Terry, I believe
I have a different perspective on this question, so I'm excited to actually see it because I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't see it live.
Ray, and I did, and I was laughing at this, and in respect, I even mentioned it to him on Twitter, even though I don't know if he watches his Twitter much anymore, for Austin Hannum. Terry, did you notice Austin Hannum's boxing out, in quotes, the camera guy in the tee box of 17 after Kat missed her putt on 16?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I went to the. I probably went to the restroom.
You might
here,
have run
because I don't remember seeing this.
So basically, what happened is, as we know, on 16, Kat had a putt, fell out the right side, got off and rolled out. We walk up to 17, and I'm talking to the camera, and it's my job to make sure that we're telling a story, and the story was Kat's missed putt. So I tell our camera one, I said, camera one, stick with Kat. Show me Kat. I want to see how she's reacting to this adversity. You know, she's just give it. And so what we saw, and I guess I'll put it up on the broadcast, was this. So at this point, I'm telling camera one to show. So I've told the camera, okay, no, I can't see her. Can you shift? And at this point, he does this, and Austin Hannum makes the move, and then we move back, and Austin Hannum kind of makes that move, and then I call it off. I basically say, hey, okay, that's enough. We're not here to harass a player.
Sure.
I'm there to get a reaction. Austin Hannum, being her caddy and her boyfriend, whether it was by instruction for Kat or just a move he felt was proper at that point, blocked our camera. He pulled the shot block and blocked it. And I'm here to say, I'm okay with it. I'm 100% okay with it.
Yeah.
I've always had the policy. I think I've said this on the show before. My job is to show the story, show Kat. We've seen this in the past where players have literally walked away from us, walked off the course, walked away from our cameras. I kind of have like a 3 to 4 second rule that says, cool, are they walking away? Follow them. If they keep walking away, then we don't. If you don't want to be on this, if this isn't what you want, we're not going to harass you about it. Kat stayed at the tee. It's sports. You have to be there. And I do not blame Austin Hannum one bit. I do not hold anything against him. And I respect him for it, actually. I think he did what he felt was right for his player and his girlfriend. But I put him in the caddy role at that point.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So obviously I was there because I hear myself talking. I was not paying attention to that. I was setting up whatever my question was that I had then thrown out to Brian. And so I did not notice the actual move. I had heard later from a camera crew member that they had felt that it was 100% intentional.
I feel like
and everything
it was.
you just said, yeah, all seems logical, and I can go along with, which is, she didn't want a camera on her. He intentionally was trying to assist her. I've got no problem with that. I think just like you said, it's a matter of if there's a comfort level, you don't want to get past that of then feeling like you're legitimately harassing, and clearly you're not. We're filming in a public park at a televised event, so clearly there are some expectations, but as you said, you don't have to force the issue, so to speak, because it's not really going to solve anything by doing so. But yeah, intentional, it seemed to be the effort for sure, which I can understand.
I'd say there's probably a 1 in 500 chance that it was unintentional based on the way our camera moved and the way Austin moved. And again, like I said, there are times that I think that's one of the few times I feel like blocking our camera is a legit move. There are plenty of times that we get caddies that get in our way, and I will literally tell a cameraman, move that guy. I don't care who he is, move him.
Yeah.
Like if the player already has their disc and they are lining up for a shot, then I don't want the caddy in front of my camera. Now, if I would never move a caddy if the player was still conversing with them, if they were still getting a disc, but there are plenty of times I'll tell a cameraman, like, get that guy out of my view. I do not want to see him or her or whomever, and just move them.
Well,
any which way possible.
Especially if it's someone who,
if it's incidental, of course, but
or someone who doesn't maybe even belong there or shouldn't be there. And obviously Austin in this case should be, as he's her caddy. some other people sometimes are lingering, or there's a
Yes.
spectator or someone that's a hanger on that isn't really maybe supposed to be part of the group in the first place that happens to be there and is just simply getting in the way. I mean, at the end of the day, the players are there to throw their best shot and perform at their peak, and we are right there as this very next in line to then record all of that. And everyone else, for the most part, needs to,
Alan Risley, and this is something that we've actually talked about, and we've done it in the past, says, I'd like to see whole maps displayed along with or rather than drone fly-throughs. Yes and yes. It's already been discussed again. I know we used to do it a couple of years ago. We would get the PNGs of the whole maps, and they would slide in from the right-hand side and show you the map, and then slide out. And I think we're going to try to work on that for the broadcasts a little bit more. I can't promise it's going to be coming up in the next broadcast or two, but I do know that we're working with the graphics. I think we just can get just the UDisc ones, the same ones they get, trim them up, make them fit, and have them be able to come in or overlay on the side. At that point, I would just say, if a player is on the tee, let's say they're kind of lining it up, we know it's maybe a slower player, and I could say, hey, frame them left, and we're going to put up a whole map. And the whole map would slide in, and we can see it and look at it. Or we can put it up with the whole preview, with the drone flyover. And we want to get real fancy, which we won't at this point. You can have, at one point, I think Mo had done a little line, and I've done it in the past, that follows where the drone is and things like that. Someday we'll probably get there, but there is talk already about doing maps for whole previews of some sort, whether it's on the drive, on the approach, or whatnot. So expect it, but don't expect it.
Yeah, and I know there's a gentleman or two that have reached out to me personally that also are in that realm, and one guy in particular at every event sends me a message, and I'm all for it. Again, I mean, lack of a better phrase from me, that's above my pay grade. Those aren't my calls, but they very well may get worked in, which would be great. John said, nice work on the broadcast. I even enjoyed the flyovers, the edits between shots. It flowed well. Enjoyed the Terry's cheesy comments, like letting the cat out of the bag. Doss at one point essentially complained. He's like, wait, why do you get all your puns and your cheesy lines in the FPO? I'm like, I don't know. They must somehow present themselves better, but it seems like sometimes just that. They're in front of me a little bit more often, so... yeah, and sometimes they don't fit. John, if you're trying to make an argument with me that a pun or a cheesy saying isn't like 100% spot on, you're 100% right. There's no way for them to be. I think that's part of the fun of them, though.
We boo him in the control room sometimes.
Mo sometimes cheers. I sometimes hear him cheering.
There are a few. It goes both ways.
As it should.
There are times that we all just shake our head like, no, Terry, absolutely not. No, that was not a good one. And there are times that we're all like, that was bravo.
My best line of the weekend, and I will fall on a sword when I should, and I will pat myself on the back when I want sometimes. My best line, I feel like, because I got the props from Brian Schweberger, who was watching, was when the final round, Cat Merch specifically had taken a birdie, and then we put up the scorecard, which I didn't know was coming. We showed her taking a birdie, and I said, oh, Cat Merch picking up a birdie. That should help melt away the snowman on the previous hole. And she had just taken an 8, which popped up. That was like 100% instantaneous, like on the fly. I saw the 8, and then I said, oh, she got a birdie. I think I said she got a birdie that should help melt away the snowman from the previous hole because she had an 8.
That's solid. I don't think that's a pun. That's just a good turn
No,
of a
I'm
phrase.
just saying. Well, yeah. I'm just saying sometimes there's a little bit of a stretch, and sometimes they work, but Schwebby like that one. So if I earn Schwebby's respect,
something there.
I'm doing something right. All right, guys. We don't expect you to respect us anymore. So we're going to close it out before things get any more sideways. But we do appreciate, honestly, all of you guys joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Ricky Wysocki. It's always great to catch up with him. We hope all of our European competitors are traveling safely. I know a lot of them are leaving, and they'll be coming back in a few weeks or in a few months or whatever the case might be. So it's been amazing having them here in all the different divisions that they've been present. Thank you to the Pro Tour. Thank you to Dynamic Disc and all the sponsors and supporters and collaborators and partners with the Pro Tour and Dynamic Disc for putting on the event the way they did as a PDGA Elite Series event and the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. It was a lot of fun. Nice work to all the control room, and then maybe most props to everyone, as always, should go out to all the cameraman hustling around 8 hours a day, getting countless shots, even if they're getting shot blocked. They're trying to get as many shots as they can, and they're hustling hard. So we love and appreciate all of them. For Johnny and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Ricky Wysocki and Ace Run Productions for their One Disc, One Tip with Andrew Marweed. We love you guys. Appreciate it. That's 401's After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.